Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Well, the guy to my left was on practice duty last night. I was with you for a good portion of it. And I read your snippets. You talked about an amazing catch, but you didn't get
several.
There was several, yes. I saw the one that Billy saw.
Okay.
Which is the one you saw again? Was it Bussy?
Bussy had one. It was number 81. Let's see, who is that? Because I'm still getting myself reacquainted.
Yeah.
First practice out there.
And there are a bunch of guys that change numbers. So, yeah. Because the one I saw was Aaron Gregory.
Right.
I saw, you're talking about the freshman, Jaden Warren.
Yes.
The one that I saw with Billy was Aaron Gregory. It was over the top, great coverage. I forget who it was on him. Maybe it was Julio. I forget. But he tips it and then double catches it on the way down. It was incredible. It was a fantastic
Sounds spectacular. I didn't see it, which, like I wrote, was,
And he got up like it was nothing.
Like it was nothing.
Yeah, like, hey, that's what I do.
Yeah, when Lucci's seeing things, and I'm not, it might be time for a visit to Eye Doc Mike.
It was legit directly in front of us. When I say 3 feet, it was right in Billy's text range.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes me feel better. The one I saw, the kid was, Warren was really well covered, and just kind of was able to reach over the kid who was covering and bring it in while falling toward the sideline. So, I think what we're finding through all this is there are a lot of good receivers on this roster.
A lot of good receivers. And so I did not get to go to the practice on Saturday. You didn't get to go either. That's the day that Terry Bussey went cray-cray, right? Like he had a spectacular,
That's what I've been told.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, every practice I've gone to, and I don't want to just add to the mystique or the myth, whatever you want to call it, the aura around what Terry's done this offseason. But I thought yesterday he looked fantastic again. He looked, and you said it standing next to me, and then I think you wrote it, that he kind of had a little Le'Veon Moss body to him, right?
Yeah, he's added some muscle and mass. He looks like a running back.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, which is not a bad thing. You catch the ball in the open field or, in the secondary, and I could see him breaking a lot of tackles, making big plays out of it.
And he's making great catches. He looks very confident out there. So he's adding to that. It's been a cool few practices I've been to now, 3, I believe. And I know you wrote a little bit about Ruben Owens. The running backs, they could actually, I'm seeing, I don't know if development's the right way to phrase it because we haven't seen any games yet, but they've got a lot of options there. We always talk about the wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Running back-wise, they've got some options there, and I really think that Ruben has taken a step.
Yeah, I think, again, Ruben looks good. He's running hard. Now, let's be honest and let's couch it. They're in shells.
Yeah.
And they're not looking to take guys down, but I'm seeing, there are some plays out there, maybe with the untrained eye.
No.
It looks like these are going to be big plays anyway, right? There was, I think Morrow had some where he's just so quick with his feet and jump cuts and things like that. But Ruben looks, he looks really good. He's running like a guy that says, this is my time.
Yeah, he is running like that. And, last year this offense had multiple stars that could help it. Casey, Mario, Marcel, Le'Veon. It feels like this year their superpower could be even more options.
Yeah, I've always said you can't be better, I don't think, at receiver without KC. Let's not diminish how great that guy was. That said, you can absolutely be deeper, and I can envision a world where you take KC's production from last year
Spread
and you cover that with more production from Ashton Bethel-Roman, who always impresses me. He's so good. Bussey and Isaiah Horton coming in, and all those three combined can I think have a great chance to meet and surpass the production of KC Concepcion.
Well, if everybody knew it was either going to be KC, and by the way, the Aggies had more options last year than those two receivers. Obviously, ABR came on strong at the end of the year or midway through the season.
Midway, yeah.
But if you know that, all right, if we can limit KC Concepcion, double coverage here, we just got to worry about Mario. Well, now I think the conversation is, okay, well, double Mario, but you've got a huge target on Isaiah Horton on the other side. And oh, by the way, you've got ABR who can beat the brakes off of you speed-wise. You've got Terry Bussey who can also
really
do it.
Coming on. I envision in a lot of scenarios, especially man coverage, you would theoretically, Ashton Bethel-Roman draws the opponent's number 3 DB. Theoretically, you're going to put your best guy, if you can, on Mario, and then Isaiah, and I'm going to take Isaiah Horton in that matchup every time.
Yeah.
Did I say Isaiah Horton? I meant Ashton Bethel-Roman.
ABR.
In that matchup every time.
So this morning on my run, I was listening to Dusty and Cannell.
Okay.
And they did their Dirty Dozen, SEC, picking where they think teams, and it's one guy gets a draft pick, and the other guy gets the one, right? A&M came in at number 8, okay, in the SEC. And they did say that there's a logjam between 3 and 8, okay, or 3 and 7. They can make an argument that Oklahoma's here. They can make an argument for A&M, blah, 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 blah. And what they found interesting was that A&M came in at, number 9 in the SEC in the coaches poll, but 8 in their SEC rankings, which they found interesting. And the thing that I am paying attention to, and I think Billy was the first one to kind of point it out, the things that people say about A&M, they don't necessarily point to and say the exact same thing about teams in similar situations. For instance, they need to see Marcel be more, consistent.
Yeah, okay.
But Oklahoma with Mateer was number 3.
Right.
And that it wasn't brought up.
Right. And they give him the excuse saying, oh, he hurt his thumb. Well, he was throwing interceptions before he hurt his thumb. And the thing I don't get about him is hey, did you see his tape at Washington State?
Right.
Washington State's playing Little League football, college football out there. I'm not saying he's not good. Don't get me wrong. But I think he's a little overhyped.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I am okay with people picking A&M today 8th because of what they lost.
Sure.
If you were to say to me, your big reason is, look, it's a hard road schedule, and you lost your offensive line, and you lost your defensive line, and you lost Cassius Howell. Okay? If in KC Concepcion. If you say that's your reason, I can't argue with that. Okay? That's because I struggle with it myself. But what I will also respond is, okay, but what about Oklahoma that lost people? What about Texas that lost people? What about Alabama that doesn't really know their quarterback situation and their offense? They couldn't run the ball last year. They got a brand new offensive line this year. Maybe it'll be better. But why are you giving all these other teams the benefit of the doubt that you won't give to A&M?
Because A&M has never, or not since R.C. Slocum, put together back-to-back, 10-win seasons, right? And so you've never seen it. It's hard to predict it. Of course, Mike Elko is not only a better coach than everybody else in Slocum, but he's also got different rules to play with.
Yep.
And he's done a heck of a job in the transfer portal. And so he, those guys that look really closer at that maybe ought to start saying, yeah, the A&M hasn't won back-to-back, but so we can't give them that, but we have to give them we have to give Mike Elko credit for his track record in the transfer portal.
Well, and by the way, I'm not predicting A&M today to win 10 games. I'm not there yet.
No.
All right? Like, I am not. I am somewhere between 8 and 9 games, and some days I'm more closer to 8, some days I'm closer to 9. But then I ask myself, but what about the teams that could potentially be ahead of you? Why are they ahead? Okay, so they picked LSU fourth. Okay, so that means that you believe talent-wise that they're there, they're coaching-wise, they're there, and that Sam Leavitt's not going to, he's going to be healthy and be an upgrade. That's what that's saying to me. So you're giving them all the checks on a brand new roster.
Right.
You're giving Alabama all the checks. Well, they fixed the offensive line. They did this. They did that.
Yeah, Alabama. I actually have more questions about Alabama than I do LSU. You just mentioned they couldn't run the ball last year with a center that got drafted and a left tackle was a first-round pick, and a quarterback who was a first-round pick. But suddenly, they're going to be able to run the ball. I know they got this freshman running back supposed to be a phenom, but who's going to block for him?
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't bug me because I could see them finishing 8th in the SEC. I could see them finishing 2nd in the SEC. I could see them winning the SEC. These are all things I can see, but we are in an age of college football that it is very hard to evaluate because there's a guy in, I don't know, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that is grading A&M's offseason on adding Ryan Henderson while never seeing Ryan Henderson play a play.
Right.
And by the way, I understand. I haven't watched a lot of the transfers that Alabama's gotten. They may have the guys. I get it. But people who evaluate without ever watching a minute of film, that's why, with Georgia, I always go back to Georgia. The consistency is what I go back to with them, is why I give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think at LSU, you give them the benefit. Look, first of all, LSU's transfer portal class last year was ranked number 1 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they only hit on a couple of guys. The safety from Houston, he had the interception against A&M, and I can't think, Halsey.
Yeah.
And Mansour Delane. And really, that's the only, you could argue Barry and Brown, but he wasn't that great. So that's the guys they probably hit on the transfer portal. But Lane Kiffin, like Elko, has got a excellent track record in the transfer portal. So you got to give him that.
Scadabble 2018. I actually didn't know this, so I'm learning something in real time, and maybe Coughlin can look it up. Dan Lanning replaced his coordinators with internal hires, and haven't heard nearly the concern there as I have for A&M.
Well,
but they've been consistent.
Yes, and they're in an easier conference, whether they want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Say, Signetti, I like you, man. I really do. I Googled you, just like you told me to. But if you're saying that the Big Ten is a deeper conference than the SEC, you're just wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just doing the political spin.
But what the SEC has to do is win those games because they didn't do great in the non-conference games last year.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so let's do a little 25 and 25, OB. Okay. I know we usually wouldn't wait this long to do it. We'll do it in another, but we got so much on the plate today. So let me get to the read. 25 and 25, presented by Paragon Financial Advisors, an Aggie-owned independent, fee-only fiduciary serving families and business owners nationwide. Visit Paragon-ADV.com. And number 14 on the list, I don't think I warned you. So sorry.
It's okay.
Get your stats ready. Wilkin Formby.
Okay.
So here's the thing about Wilkin Formby. As I was preparing for today, I know a lot of people in Tuscaloosa when they lost him, they were like, oh, he wasn't that good anyway. That's what people do oftentimes when they lose a transfer portal guy. But I was reading, he's going to play tackle here, right? Mm-hmm. And he played a lot of guard last year.
Right.
He was so if you believe in Adam Cushing, which so far I do, and I say so far, I shouldn't say that. I do believe in him, right? I do believe in Adam Cushing. He's done a really nice job here at A&M. We've seen what a poor offensive line coach, maybe one that's outdated, did here at Texas A&M. And we've seen one that knows exactly how to work with these resources in this era of college football. If you believe in Adam Cushing, you believe in the talent, the size that Wilkin Formby has, the work ethic, then there's no reason not to believe that this guy is not going to be an impact tackle for this team.
You know, if I would settle for being as good, because he's probably going to play right tackle, just being as good or a little better than Crownover. And if he's much better, that's just all a bonus. Look, Alabama had a bad offensive line last year, despite having, a number one pick, and yet one of the ways they're trying to improve was moving Formby around, not taking him out of the lineup. They're saying, okay, well maybe
he's better here
help
for
us
us
here and here.
Yeah.
So, and I think Billy noticed he might have been playing some guard yesterday, but that's not, in practice last night. That's not unusual. They like to train guys in different positions, but I think he's going to be right tackle. He's massive. I know some guys were nationally were questioning because felt like he got beat in the spring game. First of all, spring, I never paid attention. Secondly, it was Antosaka.
So we hope he does that against everybody.
Right. So to me, I can see the potential, even more than the potential and production, but the potential what he could do here. I think there's a really good chance Formby is as good or better than what we had at right tackle last year.
Yep, and I know that Alabama struggled to run the ball last year, but he is a pretty good run blocker. If you go look at some of the numbers and when they run to his side, he is pretty good at establishing the point of contact, opening up holes.
There's 5 guys on an O-line, and it only takes one to mess it up. And, you're always looking for somebody to blame. I think they probably had more trouble in the few games I watched of Alabama, because I did watch some. I thought they had more trouble at their right guard than perhaps anywhere else. So that's not Wilkin. I'm sorry, left guard than anywhere else. The guy next to Proctor. When I watched them play, I never noticed Formby. And that's a great thing for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You
only want to notice an offensive lineman if he gets a pancake that opens up a hole. If not, you don't want to see anything.
Right.
You don't want to see a penalty. You don't want to see
him on his knees while a guy's sacking your quarterback.
Yeah.
And so, look, it's a clean slate for him. It's maybe a better situation in terms of coaching. And he obviously has the physical tools, or he wouldn't have been at Alabama in the first place.
I'm going to bring up Armage here because, a lot of people, when Armage left Kansas, were like, yeah, he was all right. He was good. I thought Armage was excellent at Texas A&M.
He was a very good player for Texas A&M and ended up getting taken in the draft.
So if you get that kind of growth from a Formby in this system, I think you got yourselves an excellent right tackle, or wherever they decide to play him.
Right. Well, we don't know, but we feel good about it. So, we'll start finding out about 2.5 weeks. But I feel pretty good about Wilkin Formby.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, this is TexAgs Live. We're 18 minutes into the show. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. This hour, we call it the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Typically, we sit over there in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. We are still here at the table. Let's go around the room, left to right. Let's say hi to the people, shall we?
Let's do.
We go behind the glass. And Nick, I didn't tell the people how to call the show. Do you know what the hotline number and name is?
Of course. It's the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy. Oh, no, you're talking about the phone line. See, that's the text line I was just giving you.
You can do either one.
You can call us on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, 979-693-1150.
And then if you text that number, you can then text us on the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy.
Yes. Sorry, I screwed it up.
Oh, good. I screwed it up, too, because I did multiple things not in order. Nick, what's on your mind this morning?
Well, I just, we're pretty much halfway through this list of the 25 players in 25 days, counting down. Just curious, maybe what player out of the 14 that have been revealed so far that y'all are most excited to see play? Could be a transfer, could be a returner. I got the first 16 up, and obviously with TJ Searcy and Wilkin Formby today, what guys intrigue you that have been revealed so far?
Intrigue me. Well, I think Terry Bussey intrigues me quite a bit, by the way, just because of all, I don't want to call it the hype, the production we have seen so far I think Ricky Gibson is a name that I keep coming back to, because if he can do what he did at Tennessee and maybe even be better, we've got our. I mean, we already think we have a good secondary here at A&M. I think you could be an exceptional secondary if he lives up to that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the guy on that list that really jumps out at me, besides Terry Bussey, from all that's been written about him, is Ray Coney.
Yep.
You know, he's taking over for your captain, wearing the same number. I saw the physicality of Ray Coney last night. Knew he's a good athlete. So I think Ray Coney might be my guy.
Okay, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Coughlin's last day at TexAgs. What's up, Coughlin?
How's it going, David?
I'm all right. How are you?
Pretty solid. It is my last day today, unfortunately. The Dan Lanning situation was correct. He did promote 2 coordinators from within, and didn't really get much buzz. You talked about Anto Saka.
Let me say, now, there isn't a lot of buzz out that I've seen. I don't listen to Oregon sports radio, though.
Big Ten, yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't seen much about it, though.
Yeah. So Anto Saka made the Bruce Feldman annual article of the College Football Freaks. He was number 31, and these numbers that he has produced are kind of ridiculous. So he had a 36.5 vertical jump, 10.4 broad jump, clocked in at 21.9 miles per hour on sprints. He's currently 254 pounds, benching 370, cleaning 345, and squatting 565 this summer, which are just ridiculous numbers from him. I'm excited to see him play.
I look at the power cleans and the squats.
Yeah.
Because you play football here.
Yeah.
Power cleans and and with your glutes, your gluteus maximus.
The glutes
and hamstrings.
The glutes and the boots.
Yeah,
It'd be a good song.
Glutes and the boots.
Yeah, I can see Fergie and Jimmy Buffett doing that together.
Well, I'm not going to see Jimmy Buffett doing it.
Let's get one more quick thing in.
Quick thing from MLB trade deadline was last week. A couple of left-handed reliever former Aggies were traded. Brooks Raley from the Mets to the Phillies and A.J. Minter from the Mets to the Twins, both in playoff spots.
Okay.
Maybe.
Can I give one more update?
Huh?
Can I give one more update?
Yeah, let's go.
I'd be very remiss if today I didn't send out happy birthday greetings to my lovely wife,
Irma.
She gets older but never ages. And perhaps, people look at me as one of maybe the Shane Leckler of sports writers, because everybody's always telling me how I outkick my coverage.
Yeah, you did. You did. Good job, though. I mean, the fact that you're able to do it.
I didn't always look like this. I was a younger man one time.
All right, so let's do this. 1775, OB.
1770. Irma loves 1775.
So maybe a birthday celebration at some point?
Well, they're not open.
Not tomorrow.
Today.
Or not today.
Yeah. But yeah, she loves to go out there.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes there have been times when I'm there and it's like I'm enjoying that succulent brisket and those amazing pork ribs, that incredible jalapeno cheese sausage, and of course, queso mac and cheese. Sometimes I even have the turkey.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it, and I get a text message. You get these from your wife too. It says, "Hey, what are you doing?" Well, I never lie to my wife. So I said, "Well, I'm actually eating at 1775." And she texts back, "You bastard.
Yeah.
You didn't take me? Bring me some home." True story.
Well, I was talking to Alex yesterday, a buddy of mine, and we were talking about 1775, and he was raving about the ribs.
Good ribs. Excellent ribs.
Yeah, the ribs are great. The jalapeno sausage.
Jalapeno cheese sausage.
That's fantastic. The queso mac and cheese. Whatever you want from 1775, you're going to love it. They are fantastic. The website is 1775txbbq.com. Call them up, 979-492-6241. It is 1775.
It's good.
Hey guys, David Nuno here to talk about our new partners with EventPipe. They are a leader in hotel booking technology, and now they're giving you a chance to support Aggie student athletes every time that you travel.
thanks to their partnership with United and EventPipe. Whether you're heading into a game, a business trip, or family vacation, every room that you book comes with cash back in the pockets of Aggie athletes. That's a wonderful deal. And with EventPipe, you'll get discounted hotel rates up to 20% lower than the major travel sites while enjoying a fast, easy booking process. They've even created Presto, EventPipe's quick launch booking solution. It lets organizations build branded hotel sites powered by live hotel inventory, making it simple to book the perfect stay. So next time you want to book a trip, do it the smart way with EventPipe and support Texas Aggies NIL through United. Visit their website, tau.eventpipe.com. I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar, I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going? You use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst. Back, TexAgs Live. It's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, you think that's funny, what happened to you a moment ago? So Olin went looking for his phone. He didn't know where he left it. It was right here.
Yeah.
I have before had the phone in my hand, and I'm telling the kids, I can't find my phone. It's right here in my left hand.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have too many stories like that.
Yeah, we all do. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know why? This is an old Nunoism. We got too many tabs open in our head. You got to have less tabs to focus on things. When you got 86 tabs open, got to drive Quinn to Arizona. You've got Irma's birthday. You're thinking about the 1775 menu. You got football practice. You've got people here that annoy us. And I say us. So, you got a lot of tabs open, as I do.
Yeah, and I was changing some clothes because as soon as the show's over, I'm heading over to the MSC for a gentleman who was the story I'm going to be working on.
Okay.
So I need to be there as soon as I can after the show.
If you need to leave early.
So I had all this stuff on my mind. I'm rushing.
You're rushing. Well, we're going to
hopefully Ruben Owens be rushing a lot better and more successfully than I was.
Well, we're going to not rush through the Knockout Performer of the Week, brought to you by TKO Equipment, rent, sell, lease, or rent to buy TKO Equipment, which is your trusted source for used and heavy equipment. Look, there ain't a lot of stuff going on, so I'm just going to, if you have anybody, by all means.
Well, just based on what I was reading when I was in Arizona.
And 18 time zones.
Yeah, it would be Terry Bussey.
What do I got right there?
Terry Bussey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he really just knocked out everybody that seemingly that watched him perform on Saturday.
I'm going to say, okay, so there's only one preseason football game so far. I think the rest of them start Thursday.
Haynes King?
Haynes King, yeah. Haynes King, 219 total yards, 3 touchdowns. They won 33-30 in an electric walk-off touchdown run. So, he's an Aggie. I know he's a Georgia Tech guy, but he's an Aggie in my heart. I love that guy.
Whenever I hear Haynes King, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be this way, but it makes me think that A&M had Haynes King, Devon Achane, Evan Stewart, and Anaya Smith on the field at the same time and scored one offensive touchdown against Appalachian State.
Opie, why do you got to bring that up?
Because you said Haynes King, and that's where my mind always goes.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Connor to do great too. By the way, for Houston, he had a really good year last year. I'm rooting for him to do well.
Look, it didn't work out, but it wasn't that he wasn't, trying to represent A&M in a great way. And he had some nice games.
He had
too.
some, especially early in his time. Is it completely different because of the way Trinidad finished last season? But it's kind of similar to what we saw with Austin Simmons in Trinidad, where Austin got hurt, never really had a chance. Haynes got hurt, came back, played okay, but just never was the Haynes that Connor was not the Connor we saw initially. And then Marcel just took that job from him halfway through the LSU game.
Yeah, I know Eli Drinkwitz was sure surprised that they went back to Connor.
Yep.
And Connor played pretty well for a while, and then he got away with some bad throws against Missouri, and they won that game. But I'm sorry, it was Mississippi State, and he got away with some. But you're winning, and then that LSU game, they needed a spark, and they got much more than that. They got a forest fire.
Yeah, they did. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back and we will chit-chat with Charean Williams on the other side. All right, right now we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com if you're in the Bryan College Station area, or if you're just listening anywhere in Texas, or I don't care where you are. The website works everywhere. You should check out Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You owe it to yourself to see the selection that they have there and the great pricing. They're stocked up and ready to deal on all the vehicles on their lot. If you need a pickup or an SUV or a sedan, you name it, they've got you. They have an Aggie alumni team that knows how to take care of customers, and every vehicle purchase comes with that free oil change for life. That's real value that keeps paying you back. Stop selling for big city prices or high-pressure tactics. Come see the difference a Home-Time dealership can make. Remember, it's about a 15-minute drive the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All is good in the world. We've got fall camp everywhere, A&M going to fall camp. We had a football preseason game, the Hall of Fame game last week. The rest of them start this Thursday. So it's a great time to catch up with our dear friend Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk, and of course the Aggie Hall of Famer joining us here on the program. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Well.
Does it feel different now that camps are all, even though we're still 3 weeks and change away from some games, does it feel a little different?
I guess. After the Thursday night game, and it was so good, you're ready for a terrible game, and usually preseason, you're excited. Oh, there's finally an NFL game. We're back. And then 10 minutes into it, you're like, oh, yeah, it's the preseason. This is horrible. But it was such a good game. I'm like, all right, when's the next game? But normally I hate August. It's fake games. It's practices in the heat. It just seems like such a long month. And you want the season to get here, and it just seems like it drags. But it is closer than it was, and we got a taste of it last Thursday night. And what a great performance by Haynes King. Unfortunate on that last play that he tweaked his hamstring, so he's going to be out a little bit, so he won't play this week. So hopefully he can get back in there, but it does look like he's going to make their roster, and I hope he gets a chance somewhere. A good kid, wears his Aggie ring religiously, and is still proud to be an Aggie. So, go Haynes.
I agree with all those things. He's a Lobo, too. Longview Lobos. Hey, Charean, I know you're keeping, I'm assuming, but I know that you're keeping up with what's going on at A&M's practice. Anything in particular that you, that is, I don't know, that intrigued you as you've kept up with what's going on down here?
Yeah, I think it's Terry Bussey, and what I've read about and saw the catch on video the other day that he made. Cam Coleman, I know, made his, and Terry kind of got overshadowed, but it's just as good of a catch. So I think Terry Bussey, from what I read, has me excited about seeing what he can do this year. He came in with all the hype, had to learn the receiver position. It looks like he's done that, and I'm excited to see what he can do. A&M may have one of the best receiver rooms in college football. I just think they've got 4 really good receivers, and maybe more than that. We'll see what some of these young guys can do, but I'm excited about this receiver room and what I've seen out of the videos from camp and just hearing everybody talk about Terry Bussey.
Charean, about a year ago, you kind of updated us on what you were hearing scouts say about potential NFL picks in the following year. What are you hearing? Are you hearing anything right now about the current Aggies?
I haven't asked yet. Give me a couple weeks. I'll see some scouts in 2 weeks, and I'll ask around and see what they think about this crew of guys who are going to end up turning pro. And A&M's surely not going to have as many as they had last year. That was a great total. And if you can rebuild off, that's the thing. Like, you want a consistent program where you have double-digit players drafted in the NFL every single year. That's the goal, to be Ohio State and Alabama, what they used to be, just the double digits. Every year you're going to have players, your pro day is going to be well attended, and your players are going to get drafted into the NFL and have a chance to become really good players in the NFL. If you do that, you're going to be very successful every single year, and I think that's what Elko's building toward. I'm not sure it's going to happen this year. I don't know if they have double-digit players go into the NFL in the draft in 2027, but he's getting there, and he's getting closer, and I think that's exciting. And we have that kind of caliber of player, you're going to win in college football.
They probably won't have double digits, but I bet you they have close to it. I wouldn't be surprised if you see 8 guys. I mean, I can name 8 guys off the top of my head that if they're in the draft next year, that I feel pretty good that they'll be drafted.
And also, Charean, what I'd add to that is, like, we all look at the upcoming year, but over a 2-year period, there could be 10, 12, 14, 16 guys that get drafted.
Yeah, that's right. And now some of those guys are 1-year guys. When you look at Casey Concepcion and, you have the transfers come in who didn't actually have those guys, some of those guys for 2 years. But your point is solid. Like, that's, you're building toward that. You're building toward why Ohio State has a chance to win a national championship every single year, because of that caliber of player that they get in. And Elko has shown that he can recruit with anybody. And it's different recruiting now, we know, than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's different. And he's shown that he can compete with anybody to get the best players. And that's, I think, looking forward, there's excitement about this season, but I think there's even more excitement for me about the future, about year after year after year being able to contend.
Charean, any takeaways from the Hall of Fame speeches that happened over the weekend?
Well, I think Roger Craig's, I was there, and Roger Craig's, I think, was the saddest. Obviously, for those who don't know, he announced he has vascular dementia, and he believes it was from playing football, the concussions that he took, and he hopes that his story will help other people and get checked out and get an early diagnosis like he has. But his was on tape and just a little sad. And then, Drew Brees' was fantastic. I love that he spent most of his time thinking the city of New Orleans and what it meant to him, and thinking Sean Payton and what he meant to Drew's career. And, Texas kid who nobody wanted. He couldn't get A&M to call him back, and wanted to go to A&M, has a family of Aggies, and that didn't work out. He didn't mention that in speech. I'm just saying that. He could have been an Aggie and had that great career at Purdue, and then had the great NFL career, and I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But his speech was well over the time limit, but it was very good, and I think we all remember. I was at the Katrina game when the Saints came back and played the Falcons, and I've never heard a louder stadium than when Steve Gleason blocked that punt for the Saints. You couldn't hear, like a deafening. If I have hearing loss, it was from that day in the dome at the Saints Falcons game, at the Hurricane Katrina game. It was unbelievable, an experience I will never ever forget. And he spent some time on that, so that brought back some memories.
I covered Drew when he was in high school, when Seth McKinney was his left tackle at Westlake High School. So I covered those state championship teams, and she's right. No, it came down. The only teams that big time programs that offered him scholarship was Hal Mumme at Kentucky, and Joe Tiller, the only coaches at Purdue. Chose Purdue, and if you really didn't look at his size and just watched him play, you knew there was no doubt that this guy could play. So too bad it didn't work out that he didn't come here, but because he certainly would have, like she said. Anyway, hey, Charean, I got to ask you. Go ahead.
We've come full circle with the height thing, and I think that's a good thing. Like, especially in college football, it's still an issue a little bit in the NFL. But Kyler's probably going to start for the Vikings, so we still have some of that. But teams are starting to recognize that sometimes it matters your height. I get it, because you got to be able to see over the offensive line to see your receivers downfield and all that. But these guys can play, and if you can play, you can play.
Right. Hey, I got it. I'm going to ask you about the Cowboys. So, are you buying all these glowing reports about the Dallas defense coming out of Oxnard?
I'm going to have to see it. I'm going to have to see where they finish in total defense and how good Christian Parker can be. I don't think they're done reloading on this defense, so to speak. I think that Von Miller is still a possibility to be an addition there, maybe Bobby Wagner, but I would certainly like to see Von in that pass rushing room because I think he can add a lot from a leadership standpoint, and just, he runs the sack camp. He started that sack camp that they have in the summer, and he knows how to teach guys how to pass rush, and I think they can be better with Von Miller on their team, even with him playing 30-35% of the snaps. I think they're better with him. So I don't think they're done adding to it, but I'm going to have to see it. I still have questions, and I especially have questions just what we were talking about their pass rushers. Are they going to be able to get to the quarterback? If you can't get to the quarterback, forget it. You're not going to be a good team, period, end of story. You've got to be able to get to the quarterback. Good offensive line, good defensive line wins championships. And I don't know that they have the pass rushers right now to do that. They certainly have the defensive tackles. Quentin Williams got his contract yesterday. They have the defensive tackles. They have those guys inside, in the line. They'll be able to stop the run. I just don't know if they'll be able to get to the quarterback, or is the quarterback going to have all day to sit back there?
Charean, great stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
That's the great Charean Williams on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with the final segment here on the Go Hour. We're talking a little heritage films now. Farm and ranching families do think different. I just think Aggie families think different, right? We're all about our culture, all about our history. And that's why we like sharing our stories with the future generations. And that's what Chance McClain and his team does. They do these documentary films for family businesses, family ranches, and just families, right? So your dad, your grandfather, your mother, everybody in your family's got a story, and that story should be passed on to the future generations so they can understand everything about your family. And Chance and his team do a first-class 2-hour documentary that you'll get back in, 8 to 10 weeks, and you're going to love it. Call them up just to understand the process and what it would take for you guys to have an amazing story done for you and your family. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. That is yourheritagefilm.com.
Everybody, David Nuno here of TexAgs here with part of the team from Frog Slayer. We've got Tim Scott, the head of product strategy and design, and Tori Maddox, the senior marketing manager. All right, Tim, who is Frog Slayer? What do you all do?
So Frog Slayer is a custom software and AI and automation shop. We've been helping folks in the Bryan and College Station area for years with their custom software. But more and more recently, we've been getting questions from businesses asking about how AI can help them.
And Tori, I bet there's a lot of businesses with questions about that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's why we're actually putting together this event series called Table Stakes. It's a peer-to-peer roundtable discussion that allows business owners to come together and have open and honest conversations about AI, automation, and how it's impacting their businesses.
Tim, what do these events look like?
So imagine you and 8 other owners gathered around a table talking about what ate your week, what didn't go well, what went great, trying to figure out how AI fits into it, maybe seeing some real examples of some tools, and then afterwards grabbing a few drinks.
I like the way that sounds. All right, Tori, how does someone sign up?
Yeah, you can sign up or request a seat by going to frogslayer.com/roundtables. There you'll see a list of upcoming events, and you can request to join us.
Tim and Tori, thank you very much. Go check out Frog Slayer, guys. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Did you see this? I think it was on 3. I don't want to say exactly who it came from, but there was an article that came out that said A&M, and I think Joey McGuire was the one talking about A&M had denied a request to play Texas Tech at a neutral site field in 27 and 28. which, by the way, I would have denied it too. I wouldn't. It's not Tech. It's not because it's Tech. I think A&M already has. Don't they have Louisville that year?
Yeah, Tech is starting to become a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to get other teams to play them, and if you don't, you know, if you have other games scheduled and things like that, then they're doing what Texas tried to do for years. We wanted A&M to play them, and trying to shame them through the media.
Yeah.
And it's just
it only helps
look.
Tech.
Why don't you just worry about your schedule? I guess you can say, well, we are. Well, are you making posts about every team that doesn't schedule you?
Yeah.
I kind of like Joey McGuire, or I did, and it's starting to, seem like a whiny guy.
Well, it says here, this is from Brett McMurphy. Texas Tech can't find future games with Texas A&M, USC, NC State, Mississippi State saying no or canceling series. And I guess we're talking to everybody and anybody. So far, everybody's told us no. Well, there's a couple things there. I think there's some people are upset the way Tech handled the Brendan Sorsby situation. That's one thing. I also think, like these Big Ten and SEC teams, and more the SEC than the Big Ten, it does you no good to play Tech. It doesn't help you. Like you're only helping Tech.
Right.
Like,
well, I mean, it would look good on your resume if you won.
Sure,
especially if they win the Big 12.
But when you have a 9-game SEC schedule and you already have Louisville set up, and you like, no.
Am I supposed to call up Louisville and cancel the game because Tech wants to play?
And maybe in the future, like, okay, cool, but like, there's no reason for A&M to do it. If I'm A&M, I'm playing non-conference teams from other states.
Right. That's what I, as a follower of Texas A&M, that's what I would rather see. You've got Arizona State going there next year. They're coming here this year. And then you got Louisville. And then after that, who knows? But I hope it's maybe a Big Ten team. I'd love to go. Let's go to Penn State.
How about this, Tech?
But I've been to Lubbock.
Since you're throwing this at A&M, how about you just agree to a home game at Kyle Field, or A&M home game at Kyle Field? How about that? If it's about playing, I mean, why do we have to do you a favor when we don't need you?
I don't even care about that. I know what you're saying. I agree. Part of going to the SEC and things like that was to make your brand more a national brand.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to look like a national brand as much if you're playing all your games so many games. Look, play outside.
I am not against playing Texas Tech, but there are teams that I, by the way, would fear more than Tech that I'd rather play. I would rather go to Happy Valley. I've told you that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather go to Ann Arbor. Like, these are things I'd rather go to USC. Like, these are places I would rather A&M go, and I know they've already been to USC in the last 10 years, but than going to Lubbock. Right now, it doesn't do anything for me. We can play you in the playoffs. That's fine.
Yeah. Get there, if we see you in the playoffs, fine. But, they got out of the Southwest Conference. When you play all those teams, we don't need to play them again.
Yep. Obie, thank you, buddy.
Yep.
When we come back, Connor O'Gara here on TexAgs Live. Hey, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2 of the program. And it is now time to chit-chat with our good friend Connor O'Gara, TexAgs contributor. 10 fall camp questions from across the SEC is his most recent piece. Connor, good morning, buddy.
How we doing, man?
Good. Do you, when you post stuff, do you look at your mentions or do you kind of stay away?
There's a delicate way to answer that. I mute mentions if I very quickly sense that they're getting out of hand, and if a certain David Nuno is about to like throw hands with people that are in my mentions, then it gets muted just because I'm like, this is their battle. I don't want to get involved in that. I don't necessarily need to get into the fray. But most of the time, no, I like being able to interact with people. It just kind of depends on the situation and what type of comments that we're getting.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. Except when I respond, I sometimes respond with a little passion. Just a little passion.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've been there plenty of times before where you just want to go back and forth with people and, you know, they don't seem to make any sort of sense. But I have found the mute button on Twitter to be the greatest asset. I don't block anymore. Like I've gotten to the point where I don't want someone to ever have that satisfaction of knowing like they got to me unless they're saying something that's like really threatening, like it's my family or something that's just totally ridiculous. But no, the mute button for like muting conversations or like muting specific people, you'd be amazed at the amount of people that like I'll get that'll just, you know, try and instantly throw shade at my credibility, and I'll just mute them right there, and they never know that they have no impact on me whatsoever.
Yeah, I think sometimes though when I have used mute because I don't like to block either. It'll show me you've muted this account, and it makes me want to look, and I hate that. Like I see like, oh, what do they say? Oh, and I push the button.
You got to resist the urge, man. You got to resist the urge. It's like resisting the urge to fall in love with guys over very perfectly curated fall camp videos. There's a lot of urges out there, man. We got to resist them the best we can.
So you're saying I can't fall in love with this fall camp videos that we're getting from Terry Bussey because he's dominating right now. He's had a great camp in 3 days.
He really has. Look, the catch was ridiculous, and it's something that I'm going to talk about on the OG Kickoff for the episode that drops on Thursday morning. Just fall camp hype train, and he's one of those guys that if you've seen the people that have been talking about him, I know that Pete Nakos has been pretty high on him in the summer that he's had. Like these are the types of things that can fuel confirmation bias with certain guys. It always seems to be the former 5 stars as well, like Terry Bussey was. But he is an interesting point of discussion for this A&M team as just as a whole, whether or not you buy into the fall camp videos that have been coming out or not. He's pretty important to what they're going to try and do with a first-time play caller in Holman Wiggins, a guy that obviously has a lot of familiarity with him with his time as the receivers coach. And, you know, I think Bussey and him being able to reach his 5-star potential, if he's going to do that at season's end, you'll look back and go, wow, he was used in a lot of different creative ways. This is someone who came through high school as this dominant state championship winning dual threat quarterback who could just get on a football field and make people miss. And if he is utilized in those ways in which his skill set is on full display, then we're going to be saying great things about this A&M offense. There's been a lot of talk about using these 4 receiver sets and trying to utilize tempo. And I think Terry Bussey is a guy that could really stand to benefit from that. And even if all of a sudden he isn't necessarily this ball hawking receiver who looks like he's been playing this position his entire life, I still think there's a lot of potential for him to have a huge, significant impact on this offense.
Connor, I want to get to your question about Holman Wiggins, but something came up on the show earlier, and I actually don't know the answer to this. So because we are such an A&M-centric show, we hear the questions about A&M more than anybody else. That's the way it should be, right? So we hear the questions about Holman Wiggins, but somebody brought up Oregon also, replaced some of their coaches internally. Is there much talk about Oregon in the same way that A&M? Do I hear it more because it's A&M, or are there those same questions there in Eugene?
I think you hear it in the same sort of way, but and here's a little bit of a difference. And I'm a good person to discuss this question with because I picked Oregon to win a national championship, and the only thing that gave me pause was the thing that you just mentioned, the fact that they're replacing both coordinators. Tosh Lupoi gets the head coaching job at Cal, and then Will Stein gets the head coaching job at Kentucky. Those coordinators are really, really good, and they were part of teams that won a lot of games for them. But I think there's a slight difference, and it's not to say that it's nothing, okay? Like Dante Moore at this point of his career, he could have been the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. So people feel like he's a more finished product maybe than where Marcel Reed is at right now. So the promotion of Drew Maringer, who is also going to be this first-time play caller in the same way that Holman Wiggins is going to be, it's viewed through a different lens because of that element. I think Dan Lanning to this point in his career as a head coach, which he's entering year 5 we're talking about here. It feels like he's been there even longer. He has been awesome at picking coordinators, and it has never really been a question. So you kind of just feel like his judgment is going to win out. So he probably gets more so the benefit of the doubt, despite the fact that Oregon's obviously had these really ugly endings to their seasons the last 2 years. But no, I mean, I think if you're not picking them to win a national championship, you're probably pointing to that element at coordinator. And here's another thing to throw into it. Oregon, with its head coach and its 2 coordinators, all 3 of those guys, 40 and under. Those are not usually the teams that win national championships. Like, we haven't seen a national championship winning coach under the age of 40 since Danny Ford won it at Clemson in like 1981. So, I mean, it's not something to be taken lightly, though. Dan Lanning, I think in the eyes of many, probably myself included, has earned the benefit of the doubt.
I do want to talk more about the benefit of the doubt when it comes to A&M on other avenues, but let's stick with the coordinator talk. So your questions about Holman Wiggins, beyond being a first-year OC and coming from the wide receivers coach, what kind of go deeper into why you have some of those questions?
I looked at the entire SEC this year, and I don't know if there's ever been an example of this, and sometimes it's a little bit confusing. We'll find out like, oh, this coach actually didn't have play calling duties, and they didn't tell us until week 5 or something. So this is all kind of, it's a bit subjective here. I believe, based on my research, that Holman Wiggins is the only first-time play caller this year in the SEC on either offense or defense. That's extremely rare. Like, even if you look at Mississippi State, they brought back Zach Arnett to run that defense. Like, everybody else, at least at some point, like Jay Bateman going over to Kentucky, like he was the play caller at A&M year 1 under Mike Elko, and then Mike Elko took over those duties last year. So that is a huge question mark, obviously. And it's going to be, what does it look like to be able to get those talented receivers the ball in space? To me, if you're scheming these guys open and Marcel Reed is getting big throwing windows, that's a sign that Holman Wiggins is doing his job effectively. If it looks like it's too difficult at times to be able to move the chains, and it's more so a grind in the passing game where it's just kind of set it and forget it, 3rd and long, it's just never going to happen for A&M, then that's probably going to point back to Wiggins as a play caller and going, why is A&M in those spots? But yeah, I mean, that's a very rare thing to have hanging over a first-time play caller. And I know Mike Elko has all the confidence in the world in him. He's talked about, look, if you're going to be a play caller, at some point you're going to be a first-time play caller, right? Like, that's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, it's going to be a question that looms, and we're probably not going to have a true answer to this until we get into the meat of things in SEC play.
Connor, do you think that people become a good play caller over time, or you either have it or don't?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I tend to think you either have it or you don't, and one of the things that I talked to Will Stein about this offseason, and what he has done in very quick time is establish himself as one of the premier play callers in the sport. Now, whether that yields to success as a head coach, that's a little bit of a different question. But one of the things that he did for the very first time, like his first time as a play caller, was at Lake Travis High School. And he had Hudson Card as his starting quarterback. and he had Garrett Wilson as a starting receiver. It's like, you don't really learn a whole lot about yourself as a play caller when you have those types of weapons, and it's this overwhelming advantage. And some would argue that at Oregon, he didn't necessarily have to worry about that. He always had the talent advantage pretty much every time his offense was on the field. But those guys figure it out in a hurry, okay? And there are some things that you learn as a play caller over the course of time where you have to adjust. But I tend to think that you're not all of a sudden going to flip the switch and it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this aha moment, you figured it out. I tend to think you're either really good at it or you're a guy that's going to be a little bit more up and down, and you're going to have fans that are going to question it. So I do think that we'll probably feel like, all right, this is one of those things that Holman Wiggins, he's going to give us at least some of those flashes early on. If it's going to be really, really bad, then the leash is probably going to be really short. Like last year when we see Mike Shula struggle the way that he did at South Carolina, everybody and their mother said, this is a midseason firing. And that's not a first-time play caller, but it was somebody who's doing it for the first time at a long time at the college level. So I just think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to very closely dissect. And yeah, maybe we will have a good idea pretty early on with him.
Did you think Colin Klein was a good play caller?
I thought he was a good play caller most of the time. I thought the late season decisions left something to be desired. And that's not doing revisionist history. I said this in the moment where there were too many of those moments down the stretch where I'm wondering, why are they throwing the football as much as they are with high degree of difficulty throws when it looks like you have the +1 advantage in the quarterback run game and you can utilize that ground attack to be able to move the chains in ways that you can't right now at receiver. Your passing game just doesn't have a rhythm. And it seems like there were too many moments which Colin Klein was just trying to force it. I'm like, doesn't seem like it's maybe the best play. And I understand, like Miami, that game, you've got Akeem Mesidor, you've got Ruben Bain. You want to talk about Keontae Scott flying in like a bat out of hell, coming in from the next level. Like Miami could do things to shut down the running game, and obviously they could also do things to rush the passer. So kind of pick your poison with that. But I did think that at times I questioned some of the play calling, and it wasn't like, man, he must know something that I don't. We're seeing these wins at Kyle Field that just look like they are howling, and they're still trying to throw the football to the far hash of the field. Why is this the decision? So I do think play calling can be improved. It's not to say that Holman Wiggins is automatically going to be an upgrade, but being an upgrade in those key moments, I think that's sitting on the table for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mostly good. There were several times, and I think you could say this about any coordinator, like, why are we throwing that screen pass here? What are we doing here? But I think you can say that about any time a play doesn't work. It's very easy to point at that. I want to go back to the benefit of the doubt. And I'm saying this from an A&M perspective. I understand all the questions about A&M from you, from all the national insiders. I listened to Cannell and Dusty this morning. They had A&M as their 8th team. And I understand the questions. I do. But I guess my response to that would be like, but some of those same questions, you can point to Alabama, you can point to Ole Miss, you can point to LSU. And I guess that's where we're such and this is more of a conversation than a question, Connor, but like we're in this era where like, I don't think any of us really know, because when you get 40 new transfer portal players, you got a new offense, a quarterback that came from this place, it's really hard to know anything about anyone. So to me, the benefit of the doubt typically should go to a coach or a program that has consistently done it, as opposed to, I got a brand new offensive line. What are we going to do there? Like, I guess just take that and run with it.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point. Everybody has questions. You're right. Like, nobody's coming into this season as a national championship contender with zero questions. I mean, think about Georgia. Like, Georgia has won the SEC the last 2 years. They have won 2 national championships in the 2020s with what is easily the number 1 coach in the conference. And yet they have an offensive coordinator with continuity with the quarterback. I mean, you want to talk about like the Mike Bobo, Gunnar Stockton relationship. That goes back, 20 plus years with those families. Like, Mike Bobo was the only Broyles Award finalist from the offensive side of the ball. And yet one of our questions about Georgia is whether or not they're going to have the right play calling. I mean, that's kind of the era that we're living in. And you're right, with all the roster turnover the way that it exists now, you're just not really going to see teams enter the season without these questions. And to push back on that, even if there were that team that was just a slam dunk pick preseason number one, based on the coaches poll, it doesn't look like we're going to have that. I mean, Indiana got 14 votes for number one in the coaches poll, and yet they were number 6 in those early rankings. So like, it's going to be all over the place when that AP poll comes out next week. But even if you are the preseason number one, think about this stat. Since 2005, so that's 21 years worth of data, 20 of the last 21 teams who were preseason number one failed to win a national championship. 2017 Alabama was the only team that was able to overcome preseason number one status. So what does it even get you to be that team that just doesn't have any questions during this 8-month offseason in which we can scrutinize rosters and coaches and all this stuff? So I don't know who is truly getting the benefit of the doubt. Like Ohio State might be a preseason top 2 or top 3 team. I think Ohio State is the most difficult schedule in college football, and I have them missing the playoff at 9-3. Like, it's really tough to get the benefit of the doubt in this day and age. And we ask questions about everybody, and all you can ask for is to be part of these conversations at the top. If you're being laughed out of the room as a potential playoff contender, that's the bad spot to be in, because usually there's probably some sort of year-over-year evidence to suggest that's the direction we should go in. And A&M's at least not in that category, and you're at least going to see them in some preseason playoff projections and then not in others.
If I were to tell you they're going to be pretty good on the offensive line, Holman Wiggins is going to be a pretty good play caller, and they're going to be pretty good on the defensive line. If I just gave you those 3 factors, does it change your mind about A&M? Do you have them as a 9-win team in that thinking? Are they an 8-win team? Are they maybe a playoff team? If I just tell you they're pretty good at offensive line, defensive line, and Holman Wiggins.
That's probably not good enough to get to the playoff with that schedule. I'll be honest. Like, it's a ruthless schedule. It really is. Nobody's going to be saying at season's end this year, well, A&M just got the benefit of the doubt in SEC play. Like, I don't think that's going to be the conversation. Now, things change a lot, okay? And it's not like we were thinking that A&M had this cakewalk in SEC play at this time last year. So obviously our opinions change as these games happen and we learn more about these teams. But I don't think that would be good enough to get to 10-2, which is now the benchmark. We've seen even 10-2 teams get left out of the college football playoff. Like Vanderbilt gets left out as a 10-2 team. Like Miami the year before gets left out as 10-2. Multiple 10-2 teams from power conference ranks are being left out. So I would look at that and go, well, I need to know more. Is Marcel Reed playing at the all SEC level? We've talked about that. Is this A&M secondary, do you feel like you can truly trust them? Do they have moments where it looks like they're on their heels for an entire game? Like, I need to feel like there are more elements of this team that are just pretty good, because pretty good in this day and age of the SEC, it might get you to 6-3 in conference play, but getting you to a college football playoff with a 9-game SEC schedule, I think is really, really difficult. So yeah, I wouldn't be saying that they're going to be able to overcome that and do all the things that they would like to do if pretty good is kind of the standard across the board.
So yesterday we did a luchador, Billy and myself, and he brought up Lenore Sellers, and we found this really interesting. At least I did. And if you can find Lenore Sellers' stats from 24, Matthew, and Marcel's from last year, they were very similar, like extremely similar. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I think it's based on the perception of what your program is doing, maybe changes the way you look at people, and obviously the last couple of games for Marcel. But the way people were talking about Lenoris last year at this time is nowhere near the way they talk about Marcel. Like with Marcel's like all these questions, and Marcel had, I think, 3 more interceptions, so that's part of the conversation. Do you have those numbers?
Lenore Sellers, 2024, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, 674 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. Marcel Reed last year, 31-69 through the air, 25 touchdowns against 12 interceptions with 493 rushing and 6 touchdowns.
So, look, I understand the last 2 games are that's what people remember. But I find it interesting that Marcel is still fighting some of these battles that, maybe it's the Aggie in me. Maybe I'm just used to fighting battles, Connor.
I think that's it. Here's why. How you finish matters. Lenore Sellers finished the regular season 2024 with his head coach talking about him being the best player in college football and us kind of looking around going, man, like the latter half of the season, if we were just handing out like a latter half Heisman, some of the things that Lenore Sellers was doing and the way he was doing it, not just the numbers he was putting up, but like, what do you have, like 18 broken tackles in that game against Clemson, like a playoff bound Clemson defense that actually had real future first round talent on it. And the way that he was making these plays, you just watched him and go, my God, he doesn't even have the talent around him on the offensive side of the ball. And he's still doing things that just feel insanely good and promising in what was his first year as a starter, in which the first half of the season he wasn't healthy. So it was like once he was finally healthy and able to actually string together multiple games of staying on the field, you saw these things and you saw him finish so well. Whereas Marcel, like the downfall that he had in those final 2 games, yes, a small sample size, but it didn't leave people with the best taste in their mouth. So like in terms of perception, that's probably something that definitely had something to do with it. And the turnovers for Marcel, you could look inward and say like, that's on him to be able to fix that stuff. Where some of the stuff with Lenore's that felt like his shortcomings, you could point to the surroundings and go, man, give that guy more talent on the offensive line. Like give him some receivers to be able to work with and see what he could really do. So I think that perception is definitely part of it. It's not just about the numbers. I think part of this is looking through the lens of knowing you want to go to bat for your guy. You want to see people saying great things about it. If Marcel Reed is able to quiet some of those doubters this year, you're not even going to have to be the guy that's out on social media that's defending him. That'll take care of itself.
Last thing for you. Let's play a pretty good game again, all right? The last one, let's say Sam Levitt is pretty good, all right? He doesn't have to be all world, but he's got Lane Kiffin. So if he's healthy and pretty good, what does that mean for LSU?
I still tend to think it's more like a 9-3 team if he's pretty good. Does pretty good also imply that he's healthy for the full year? Because that's not a given. You know, like he's coming off the Liz Frank injury, and I know he just said at camp yesterday, he's like, I'm 100%. Like, I'm good to go. I've been 100% for a while. You didn't have spring football. You need spring football in this day and age to get that offense down. It's a new offense. You're asked to run it with tempo, with Charlie Weiss Jr., with Lane Kiffin. Yes, you're going to have Charlie Weiss Jr. in your ear. That's really, really good. I still think that those physical reps with the new surroundings matter. And it could create some ups and downs in which, yeah, pretty good ends up maybe being the end of season product, but there could be some grenade type games. Like go back to Matt Corral in 2020 when he's learning that Lane Kiffin offense. And I remember talking to him like early in that season, and you know, one of the things he said was, I couldn't figure out this offense early on. Like I had to start coming in at 5 o'clock and buying the quarterback's breakfast to be able to come in and watch film and figure out all of the elements of that go into this tempo offense. Because yes, it's quarterback friendly once you figure it out, but getting to that place is just not a given. And I think too many people are looking at Sam Levitt, an experienced quarterback, and saying it's a given that he figures it out. And so if he is pretty good, that still means he probably has some pretty bad sprinkled somewhere in there. And there's not really a margin for error with that schedule that makes me think, oh, he can be like just decent. And all of a sudden, like LSU is this 10-2 type team. Unless the defense with Blake Baker is just like all world good and they're able to overcome some of his mistakes, I think that'd be a really tough thing for me to kind of accept. I think he's going to have to be exceptional and play at an all SEC, at a Heisman contending type level if LSU is going to get to the college football playoff this year.
Connor, great stuff, brother. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
See you. Connor O'Gara, TexAgs contributor. Does great work. Check out his podcast. Good friend of the program. We'll hit a break. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, little open segment followed by some greatness. We got Matt Hayes coming up at 10. Who do we got at 9:35? Coughlin. Look at the rundown. You don't have it open, do you?
What if early camp story?
Oh, no, we don't have
Gabe DeArmond.
No, that's not until later.
10:35. Is that what you're talking about?
I said 9:35.
Oh,
I think we just have me talking. Anyway, this is great. I love when we have a show meeting.
That's the best segment possible.
It might be the best segment of the day, or it might be the worst. When it comes to your money, peace of mind starts with the right team. That right team is and should be Aggie-owned Paragon Financial Advisors. They're an independent fiduciary serving clients all across Texas. No commissions, no sales pitches, just trusted advice tailored to you. They have a team of 18 professionals, including 9 CFPs, a CFA, and a CPA, and their expertise does run deep. At Paragon, credentials matter, and so does your future. Visit paragon-adv.com or give them a call, 979-693-3907 to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors, integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors.
Nick.
Yes, sir.
You know how I operate, right?
I do.
So when I go out of town, what do I do when it comes to time?
You operate as if we are still in Central Time.
When I text people to come on the show, what do I typically do?
You keep it in Central Time.
Okay. Just want to make sure I just say that on the air, just in case there's any miscommunication later. It's TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2 of the program. And now we talk to Matthew Coughlin, who has decided to quit on us, but after the show. Coughlin is at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Coughlin, what up, buddy?
I can't believe you just said that, but...
Whether you quit on us?
Yeah.
Oh, his internship ended. Sorry.
Women's soccer is playing at Rice tomorrow, so I have some key players to watch as the season begins, starting with Lipscomb transfer number 10 midfielder Bella Carapazza, who is named to the Heisman Trophy watch list, which is the equivalent to the Heisman Trophy of college football. Freshman number 55 forward Ireland Churchill, and leading scorer returners, number 16 midfielder Trinity Buchanan, number 20 forward Leah Diaz. And the Aggies are 17-5-2 in their last 24 openers, but all 5 losses were to top 7 ranked opponents, and the Aggies hold a 7-1 lifetime series over Rice.
So I will talk to Bobby today. We'll run that tomorrow. Bobby Shuttleworth, the A&M soccer head coach. We'll chit-chat with him and just get a feel for the team. It's a completely new philosophy, new players, new team. So I don't think we know anything other than it's going to be an exciting brand of soccer. And he comes with a great reputation and has won at a very high level. He brings that mentality here to Aggie Land. And obviously, Coach G did an amazing job here in his time. So it'll be nice to see what Bobby does next. Let's get one more in.
We have the recently drafted Aggies in the MLB starting their pro careers. Chris Akopian tallied his first hit. He's at high A. Caden Sorrell has collected a double, triple, and home run in his first 5 games. Gavin Grahovac's first pro hit was a home run out to right center field. And Bear Harrison, his first career hit was a triple, believe it or not.
Good stuff there. Appreciate it. We'll hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, I am just going to talk about A&M football stuff. We'll figure it out as we go here on the program. Right now, we're talking about Guarantee Bank and Trust. They've been around for a while. If you think over 100 years is a long time. They were established in 1913, so they have over a century experience of serving Texans as one of the most respected community banks. They are very respected. They have 3 great locations in Aggie Land, and when you go say hi to their market president, who's a good Aggie, Brandon Sears. He's got a great team with him. But all across Texas, you're going to find a good Guarantee Bank and Trust, a community bank, even in the big cities. They'll treat you like a community bank. That's what they're supposed to do. They have it in Dallas. They have it in Houston, Fort Worth, Central Texas, East Texas, and as I mentioned right here in College Station. And wherever you go, a Guarantee Bank and Trust is going to make local decisions, help you with home ownership, financial education, you name it. They want to make sure that you know when you go there, you're going to be treated like you're part of the family. They want to make sure that they help all of the community grow stronger, and they'll be there for you. Remember, 33 great locations across Texas. It is gnty.com. That website again, gnty.com. Guarantee Bank and Trust, a division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Am I going to get in trouble for not liking this song? You're singing it over here like freaking. No. We got karaoke over here. His mouth was all open.
Karaoke Coughlin.
Karaoke Coughlin was over here. Like he was like really into it. Anyway, so can you guys catch me up? Apparently YouTube got mad. YouTube people got mad at Conor O'Gara. Well, like, what did he do wrong? Because he said they're going to go 9-3.
He gave constructive criticism with labeling a few doubts, but he did it with multiple teams.
Guys, I wouldn't even call them doubts. They're questions he has.
Yeah, questions.
If you can't take Conor O'Gara's like dissection of what A&M, what he thinks A&M will be, then I don't know what to say. I mean, he's the most like level-headed, cool guy. I got to know him pretty well at SEC Media Days. Great guy, but
he's awesome.
Like if you can't handle what he had to say and it drives you to rage and to not want to watch his segment, I mean, come on now.
So here's what I'll tell you. There are certain personalities, and sometimes we interview them, by the way, that I think say things for effect, right? They just say things to cause, like Twitter to melt down and like, I'm going to have a hot sports take. Like, I think Danny Cannell's really good. I've never had him on the show, but I think he's really good. But I also think he sometimes says things for effect.
Engagement farming.
Yeah. I don't think I do that. I just think what I say in the moment, and maybe in that moment it turns into that. But like, I don't ever like have this little plan. Like I'm brewing up a plan. Like, all right, what can I say to upset the trolls today? Like I just talk. Like maybe that's my biggest issue. Like, I don't know. Like, and the questions that Conor has about A&M, I have some of the same questions. Now I view them from a different perspective. I am Coach Elko has helped me become a glass half full as opposed to half empty, right? Because I believe in him. So because I believe in him, and he believes in Holman Wiggins, and by the way, my encounter with Holman Wiggins, dude is impressive, right? Impressive. I don't know how he's going to be as a play caller. You don't either. But if Coach Elko believes in him, I'm going to believe in him. That's just. But Conor is an Indiana grad covering the SEC in Orlando, right? Like, there's a triangle effect going on here. He doesn't have to see things through an A&M perspective. I don't think and maybe I heard it wrong, and again, I didn't read some of these comments. I don't think he said anything that was out of bounds. When I compared the Lenoris Sellers to Marcel thing, I understand his perspective. Lenoris played really well down the stretch. Marcel didn't play his best down the stretch. But I also, and maybe it's because I am an Aggie and it's convenient, but it's the facts. I look at the 13 games as opposed to the 2 games. When I look at 2 games, oh yeah, he's kind of struggled. When I look at 13 games, like going to Death Valley and dominating a team and ending their season and going on the road and having to score on the final possession against Notre Dame, right? After you run back a touchdown and it gets called back and you still have to go through all that adversity. I look at the 13 games when I assess Marcel Reed, and I think to myself, this dude's a really good quarterback. Why do we act like he's not? That's just the way I see it. I also understand looking at Lenore Sellers finish the season on a high note. I understand that Arch finished the season on a high note. I get all of that. All those things, you know what they are? You know what they are, right? They're just data points. At the end of the day, they are just data points. And I am not going to ever, punch me in the face if I do. I get mad at somebody for having an opinion and having a well-informed thought process behind his opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Like, there's a lot of opinions out there. There's some opinions in this building I don't agree with, right? Like, but it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. I just see it differently. So, I don't have A&M as a playoff team today. I hope I do in a month. I hope after I've seen them play a few games, I feel great about the offensive line. I'm not as worried about going on the road as I have been in the past with 5 SEC road games. As of today, I think they're one of these tweener teams that could be, could not be. Oklahoma could be, could not be. There are a lot of teams. LSU, they're a boom or bust situation. I feel like LSU is one of these teams you look at and you're like, oh, they spent a lot of money. They got the right coach finally. if Sam Levitt's healthy, they're going to win 10 games. Or you could be like, brand new team, chemistry is a thing. It won't work out. It's going to be hard. All those, you can make an argument. By the way, you can make an argument of why you think Keelan Russell is going to be great if he ends up being the Alabama quarterback. Just give me a well thought out process behind it. Don't give me gotcha radio. Don't give me like hot sports takes and boom, scoreboard. This is what you guys haven't won since 1939. Okay, cool. I don't think that has anything to do with today, but okay, thanks. So now, I thought his answer when I asked about Colin Klein was pretty spot on. I thought there were several moments throughout the year that I didn't like his play calling, but I don't like play calling when it doesn't work.
Yep. It's easier to say after the fact.
Like the Texas game 2 years ago, there's a part of me that enjoyed running the ball 3 straight times and getting stuffed, right? I mean, not getting stuffed. I didn't enjoy any of that. But there was like, oh yeah, we're going to get it done. But it didn't work, so I hated it. Had it worked, I would have loved it. So it's about success, a lack of success or success. There were several times I was in the press box with Olin. I'm like, why did we call that? And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Again, if it works, I'm all in. If it doesn't, I got questions. And questions are okay at this point. Nobody, and by the way, opinions may help formulate, opinions of teams as we enter the season and where you enter the season. But if you're the 24th ranked team in the SEC and you go 11-1, you're going to be a top 10 team and make the playoffs, right? So all A&M has to do is win games and opinions will change. And as for his Oregon take versus the A&M take, okay, I think Elko's done a great job hiring coordinators too. And if you believe in the process, the Mike Elko process, then I think, but not everybody has to, right? And by the way, good coaches have down years. Hopefully A&M doesn't have a down year. Hopefully A&M is great. And I'm speaking to the choir of people, for the most of the people watching TexAgs, but there are questions that have to be answered. And there's a part of me that is, those unknowns are just that. They're just unknown. And when they're known, we'll have a better feel. And by the way, let's say all those questions are answered in September and October. It doesn't guarantee anything in November. We just saw that. So I believe in the process. I believe in the player evaluation. I believe in the development. I think it's hard to win on the road in the SEC. Maybe Alabama's not who people think they are. Maybe South Carolina is better than who people thought they were. Maybe Missouri takes a huge step up or a huge step back. Remember the way people were talking about Austin Simmons a year ago? Some people were saying he could be the best quarterback in the conference, entering the season. Really? He hadn't done anything. But so nobody was talking about Trinidad Chambliss. Nobody's talking about LSU firing Brian Kelly at this point in the season. I don't think people thought Oklahoma was going to make the playoffs with that brutal schedule. So, look, there's a lot of questions. I mean, some people did believe it because they've figured out the quarterback situation, bringing in Mateer. I think Mateer at times, early on, he was a Heisman contender. Then he fell out of favor after the Texas game. So, I don't know. What are some of the people saying now? Are they canceling me too?
Yeah, no, they're actually kind of agreeing with you, just kind of going back and forth. And it kind of seems like what they're saying is if you support a team, then your agenda is going to be for them. So, for example, Arch Manning and Lenore Sellers in those 2 years ended the season strong. Well, if I'm a fan of them, I'm going to say, oh, they're on upward trajectory for next season. And if I'm an A&M fan and Marcel Reed had a worse end of the season, but overall was great, I'd be like, well, overall he was great. Next season, he's going to keep improving and be great. So if it supports what I believe, then I'm going to use that and not say, oh, well, I'm just going to look under a microscope and see, well, the end of the year wasn't as good. So that's what they're going to use against me.
By the way, the end of the year doesn't mean anything for the next year.
Yeah, and also
it's a new year, new players. Half the roster is different.
Those teams are much more competitive. That at the end of the year, you have a full season of tape on the opposing players. Those also the best teams you played.
Yep.
So.
All right, we'll hit a break. Kay Nagley is going to update us on volleyball as their season gets started here. When insurance matters most, who's going to call or answer your call? That's the Rollo Insurance Group. You get a personal agent, a direct number, not a call center. You got a cell phone, you can call them, you can text them. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live. The difference is real. 60 offices in the great state of Texas. Whether it's home, auto, business, or ranch insurance, start a relationship with an expert who puts you first. Your agent does become familiar with your specific situation, and they provide a plan that most mass market insurers simply cannot match. So when you need advice or have a claim, you'll speak directly with somebody who knows you by name. That's the Rollo difference. That's the Rollo way. Visit RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs. RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs. Or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. It's Rollo Insurance. Definitely from the Nick playlist, not from the Nuno playlist. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Kay Nagley, ace reporter of the house. What's up, Nags?
What's up?
I've never called you Nags before, have I?
That's usually a Billy nickname, is Nags. He really
Nags.
loves that one.
Yeah. So volleyball season's here.
It is.
Maroon and white game coming up.
Yeah, it feels like just yesterday we were in Kansas City covering a national championship, and now I'm like, man, this went by really fast.
So a couple different opportunities to see the Aggies play. We got the Maroon and White, and then we've got Baylor on Sunday. Is that right?
Yep, Maroon and White game tonight at Reed, 5:30. Should be an exciting time. Just if you didn't get to go out in some of the spring stuff that they did, just see the new look Aggies. Right, there are 8 returners on this team. The most notable, obviously, being Kendall Stowers, TexAgs intern. And I'm really excited about what this group can bring, especially with the 8 newcomers. So you have a good balance of new and old, exactly what, there's people that know exactly what this program is run like and been like, but you also have this blend of of some new girls, new talent coming in. So I'm really excited to see it.
So I think you tweeted that they were eighth in the.
They are
poll,
eighth in the AVCA preseason poll.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're eighth in that poll and they lost a lot of players from that team, that just shows a lot of respect and room for growth, right? Like the fact that they were able to replenish, but there's still unknowns because they're replenishing with people that others don't know about.
Yeah, I would have probably had them, in my opinion, I thought 8 was a little bit high, but it was, I think it's more of we respect you as a top 10 program now. And so we are going to place you there. They actually did receive a first place vote. This is the coaches that vote upon this. So there is obviously a coach that is super high on A&M. But yeah, there are also this poll that came out, they play so many of these teams.
Yeah.
Like Jamie Morrison absolutely wanted to go out and play this fiery non-conference slate to start. Obviously, you play Texas in conference play as well as a couple other SEC teams that are ranked. But you have Louisville right off the bat. You have who's number 7. That'll be a top 10 matchup. You have SMU, who's 11. You play Wisconsin, number 6 in the non-conference slate. You play Purdue. Like you're gonna in Kentucky, you'll face in the regular season, the SEC slate. So he really wanted to schedule a hard non-conference right off the bat to know exactly what his team is going to look like. They are going to go through some bumps and bruises, and cautioning fans now, right? Like you're going to see losses. They're not going to go undefeated. And this is very much so a different team than last year. So when you see it look a little bit different or you see losses come along the way, don't freak out, right? Like not everything is going to result in a national championship.
So who are some names that we need to know about that maybe we don't know about?
Yeah, I think Natalie Ring is going to have a huge impact. She's an outside that they brought in from Marquette who had a huge impact there. She was an All-American. And I think her and Kendall Stowers being those two outside, that duo, arguably the greatest outside duo that you have in the country, rivaling probably only Texas and Nebraska. And those are the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. So really excited to see what that outside duo looks like. We know what Stowers provides. And then in the middle, Kaya Castle is a transfer as well as Eliza Sharp. They're going to look a little bit different from what we were used to with Afena and Morgan, just their styles of play. They're going to hit a lot off of one foot, so they're going to run a lot more slides, which also brings in Lily Nicholson, the new setter. She's provided a lot of experience and depth to that setter room. I'm very, very high on her. She has a lot of experience in her career. She's just going to be a senior. So those are just a few of the transfers. And then Gabby Rodriguez, I've been super high on since the get-go. She will either be A&M's libero or DS. Just provides just a constant presence in the back row, whether that's you need a little bit of leadership, a little bit of, just the ability to pass and get it to Lily very easily. So those are a couple names to watch. And then there's going to be a couple more, especially on the opposite. Megan Fitch, Taryn Morris, who were on that national championship team. They're going to have an impact in the opposite role. That is a room that's kind of wide open, right? Like you can go and take this job if you really want it and you want playing time. So I think they're going to have a lot more of an impact in their sophomore seasons.
How are they handling the bullseye?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, like it is interesting though, right? Because half of the team was there, half of them weren't.
Yeah.
So you could say that half of the team doesn't really feel like they have this bullseye on them because they didn't just go through that run.
But everybody's going to look at them as
for sure.
the national champions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, right off the bat, you face 2 top 15 teams. So you're going to find out very quickly what kind of team you have, how they respond to adversity. Louisville, it's obviously well known that reverse sweep, and you kicked them out of the tournament last year, and that was a very upset team. Their head coach, Dan Meskey, has talked a lot on air about how he really could not get that game out of his head. Like he just sat there and would think about it. So obviously hasn't gone out of his head.
They're thinking about it.
For sure. And like they want to take down the team the end of their season last year. So we're going to see exactly how they respond to having that bullseye on their back. But I'm really impressed that they've been regarded as this top 10 program now. And I think that's what Morrison, exactly what he wanted to do whenever he came to A&M. And the AVCA preseason poll, coming with them at number 8, I think it's just a nod to what Morrison's built in such a short time.
All right, so these 2 opportunities to see them in action, what are you looking out for?
Yeah, mainly I think that opposite battle, like I talked about, Megan Fitch and Taryn Morris, I really want to see who kind of takes that step. They're both going to be sophomores. both had limited playing time last year, and obviously we saw Logan Lednicki last year there. It's not going to look the same, right? But just if you can get production on that side. And then the Slabero battle, Addie Applegate and Gabby Rodriguez, they're going to be battling it out. Obviously, the A&M had such a great leader in Ava Underwood there last season. And so that is going to be huge just for the leadership of the team, who can kind of get people together after you lose points or things like that. So those two positions are what I'm going to be really watching for.
Hey, and just remind me before we hit a break here, last year, the non-conference started off really good. There was a little bump in the road in the middle, right? Yeah. And then it got good again. Is that am I remembering that correctly? So we shouldn't read too much into the initial returns, correct?
Yeah, they played number 11 Minnesota right off the bat, and then they had Utah State later on. Utah was ranked, but then they went up to DFW, played number 10 SMU, number 15 TCU, and lost both of those matches. Right. They got swept by SMU, and that's who they play game 2 this year. So they have a lot of history with those DFW teams, and he's talked about it before. He kind of that's what he used as the motivation throughout the year, because they swept their way through SEC play. They were dominant the entire time, but it's like, hey, you remember those 2 weekends back in DFW? So not that you ever want to lose games, but it is Morrison is just the style of coach that can take things like that, take little miscues, and turn it into motivation later on.
Good stuff, Kay. Thank you.
Of course.
We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Matt Hayes of USA Today, I think, on TexAgs Live.
And we're back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. Continuing our college football chat. Our next guest, I saw him in Tampa, work in the room. Didn't get a chance to talk with him. But I did see a clip recently of him, pretty bullish on Texas A&M and Mike Elko. So let's go to the Puppies Catering and Bartending Hotline, joined by Matt Hayes of USA Today, to talk all things college football. Matt, how are you, buddy?
Good morning, fellas. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for joining us. So let's start off with why you're bullish on Mike Elko. What is it about what Coach Elko's done here in 2 seasons at A&M that has you high on him?
So first off, I've been bullish on Mike Elko since he was a DC at Notre Dame. Every time I talk to him, you get an idea of who he is. He's obviously a terrific ball coach. He's obviously a smart evaluator of talent and developer of talent. And we can talk all we want about, this is Marcel Reed's 3rd year, and he's primed for a big season, and the receivers look good. And, they're replacing 4 offensive linemen, but you kind of feel like they're in a groove right now with how they're developing guys. At the end of the day, I've started looking at programs a lot differently over the last few years. I think college football has always been a coach-centric sport. It's now moving toward the NFL where it's a more player-centric sport, but you've got to have the guy at the top that not only knows what he's doing, knows how to recruit, knows how to develop, but here's the key. A guy that has to be able to reach players in a way that coaches never had to before. They're walking a fine line every day, these coaches. You've got to be a guy that can not only get guys to your program, develop guys to your program, retain guys in your program. You've got to be able to deal with multiple different factions within a locker room, different personalities, different ideas of where they are within their 4-year, 5-year journey now. You're dealing with young guys that are coming in making a lot of money, more than veterans there that are starting for you. There's jealousy in locker rooms. There's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different dynamics going on in a locker room. You've got to have a coach that can not only see that and read that and embrace that, but you got to be able to coach well within that and make sure your staff also is in sync within that. And, all the way back to Duke, Mike knows what he's doing. He's a hell of a coach. And to me, I think that's where I start with Texas A&M and the foundation of why I like them and why I will like them every year until he proves otherwise, that it's not happening, that he can't reach kids, because he's proven it over and over and over that he knows how to reach these kids in a very strange and surreal environment we're in right now.
Matt, I want to follow that up with your thoughts on Marcel Reed, because, look, I recognize some of the questions people have about him, but I do feel like he is really scrutinized for what happened at the end of the year. Where are you on Marcel Reed and his potential room for growth here in year 3 as a starter?
Yeah, it's hard not to scrutinize him, and I think he'd probably be the first person to admit that he didn't play that well. So I see it as quarterbacks especially, they reach the top of their game, their ceiling, if you want to call it, at least in college football. It's different clearly in the NFL. Some reach it differently. Some reach it, after in year 2 when all the coaches say that's the biggest jump that most quarterbacks make. Some reach it in year 3. And he really wasn't a full-time starter in year 1. So you could conceivably say, all right, this is year 2. This is the full second year. So let's see what we got. I just think there's so much to like about him. The way he throws the ball with velocity, the way he can put defense in conflict with the run game. And he's also like a hard runner. He's not just some kind of scat runner. He'll run over people. I just think there's a lot to like about him, and I think he's going to be more accurate this year because, again, you're talking about now a 3rd-year guy, a guy that has seen just about everything he could see in college football.
What are your questions about A&M beyond the tough schedule? When you look at their roster, when you look at what's ahead, what are your big questions?
Yeah, I think it's offensive line. I don't know how it couldn't be. And I think the more that we look at football now in this day and age, where it's become such a vertical pass league, vertical pass sport really, in both college football and the NFL. Although there's a little bit of a turn now in the NFL to go back to the run game, and I think college is trying to turn back to that as well. But it all starts up front, man. It's the offensive line. Like, if you're struggling in the offensive line, if you can't move people, especially in that league, you're going to have problems. And I think you've got to go back. Again, it's what I said to at the very beginning, at the top, is I think you've got to trust in the guy that's putting together that roster, the guy who knows what he's doing and knows how to reach guys and develop guys and get them to play at an elite level. You got to trust him that he's going to have an offensive line that can put you in position to win big games.
Well, Matt, I think one of the things that I saw about Marcel at the end of the last year is that I don't think the offensive line was as good at the end of the year. A&M had a problem running the ball. A&M had a problem protecting him against South Carolina, against Texas, and against Miami. I know those defenses were very good, but how much does that play into how Marcel played at the end of the year, the way that the offensive line played, and the lack of a running game?
Ton, and they were dinged up a little bit. I mean, so I think, look, I say this all the time. It's not just the quarterback. It's a three-pronged thing. You got to protect. You've got to throw on time with anticipation, and receivers got to get open, got to get separation, and then the most important thing at all, catch the ball. It's the most undervalued thing in all of football. Catch the ball. And that's a problem. That's been a problem, too. So, look, if one of those things goes wrong, the offensive line, the quarterback, and the receiver, more than likely it's either going to be an incomplete pass or much worse. So I think everything's got to go right in those plays, and that's a lot to happen in a matter of 4.5 seconds or 5 seconds. So, yeah, and then you start talking about the level of competition was clearly stronger, and the defensive lines, the front sevens were clearly stronger. So there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just simply, well, Marcel played poorly. There's a lot more that goes into that.
Matt, Texas has enormous expectations this year. Where are you on Texas?
Love them. I mean, I think you add a guy like Coleman to that receiver room. You put Arch in his second season with Sark, as a starter. I mean, he's been with Sark now for a while, but a second season as a starter. I love what they've done on the lines of scrimmage. I think Texas is going to be a dangerous team, and I know that's kind of like the thought out there. But I think Sark feels it and he knows it. It's going to be a fun November, I can tell you that. A very, very fun November, because I think those two teams in that game, that could be for a lot.
Lane Kiffin's finally got the resources. Well, I mean, he had pretty good resources at Ole Miss, but he's definitely got different resources available to him at LSU. Is this a one-year fix, or do you think it's going to take a couple years?
It's funny. I just talked to a scout who was at one of their practices yesterday. He says they're going to be good. And he said, you don't know how what will happen during the season if different injuries happen or if, what happens when adversity strikes. He said, but they're really good. They're really good on the lines of scrimmage, and Sam Levitt looks really good. So, yeah, I mean, I look, it's going to be a wild ride no matter what, because you're not spending the kind of money that LSU spent, not only to fire Brian Kelly and hire Lane Kiffin, but to build that roster and to commit to what they're doing football and not think, all right, we got to get to the playoff. I'm not sure 8-4 is good enough. I'm not sure 9-3 is good enough. And 10-2 might be a little bit disappointing to these guys right now. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this program.
Talking to Matt Hayes here on TexAgs Live. All right, Oklahoma, a team that I feel like is kind of lumped in with A&M and where their expectations are, quarterback questions as well. Defense should be strong. Do you think Oklahoma's got another playoff run in them?
I love John Mateer. I love his attitude. I love his moxie. Looks like a linebacker now. Wanted to get stronger because he wanted to be able to absorb hits. He took a lot of hits last year, not only in pass pro, but also in the run game. Like he's very fearless with his body, and I think he realized, look, I can't do that like I did when I was at Washington State. This is a different animal right now. So he got bigger to absorb some of those blows. I think he's got to stay healthy. They've got to be able to protect him. When they protect him, he's accurate and he makes plays. I mean, look at that at the playoff game. They're up 17-7. They're driving. He missed that deep ball because he was forced out of the pocket and had to throw it on the run. He hits that deep ball. It's 24-7. That game is over, boys, over. They advance. And he missed it, and the next thing you know, Alabama comes back, and here we go. I think Oklahoma certainly could have another playoff run in them. I also think now it's going to be, all right, now everybody knows what Oklahoma is. Now everybody knows how to defend John Mateer. Let's see what they can do and how they can adjust.
I'm having a hard time with a lot of these SEC teams. So when these questions come with A&M, I think, yeah, those are fair questions. But also this team's got these questions, and this team's got these questions. Alabama, another one of those that I know they got a new offensive line coach. They got a brand new offensive line. They got a brand new quarterback. Kalen DeBoer's a pretty darn good coach. He's done it before. But I don't know where to really put my finger on the pulse of Alabama this year.
Look, I've been saying it all off season. My first response with Alabama is I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it, man. And it's, look, you did what they did last year with a guy who was the 11th overall pick in the draft or 13th overall pick in the draft at the most important position on the field. Now you're talking about a brand new quarterback. Whoever it is, they've combined for like 40 passes in college football, all in mop-up duty. And you got an offensive line that's certainly iffy. You got a run game that's been the worst. That was the worst run game at Alabama in 3+ decades. So what are we looking at right now with Alabama? I think it's very easy for people to say, yeah, Alabama will be in the playoff, just because we all think it's Alabama. I mean, this team has lost 8 games the last 2 years. 8 games. So I think at some point we've got to look at that and say, okay, they are who they are. I think Kalen was a terrific coach prior to Alabama. He got to Alabama, and I think the talent level in the rest of his conference went up. And he's in a difficult situation of obviously following Nick Saban, but I use this analogy all the time, guys, and I don't know how others can't see this. Curt Cignetti walked into the worst program in the history of college football. Worst. Absolute worst. Won 27 of his next 29 games. Kalen DeBoer walked into arguably the best program in the history of college football and went 20-8. So you can say, well, some of those Saban players left and he wasn't a full complement and he had to recruit his own guys and he had to work and you got to give him time. Well, then what do you say about Curt Cignetti? Walking into the armpit of college football and winning 27 of 29 games. You can argue it's not the same level of competition and the Big Ten and the level of competition he faces down the line. That argument that we throw out all the time, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it anymore. At some point, you got to realize they are what they are.
Matt, Ole Miss was 20 seconds away from playing in a national championship game. Does Pete Golding's Cinderella story continue this year, or do they step back into reality?
Think about that, man. They were one play away. We were basically one play away from Indiana and Ole Miss in the national championship game. Just mind-boggling. If that doesn't scream NIL, I don't know what does, man. I don't know what does. And the change that we've seen in the last 5 years. You know what? They've got a very difficult schedule. You've got a new offensive coordinator to work with Trinidad Chandler, and what Charlie Weiss Jr. did. You know, the funny thing is you always hear people say, "Well, it's Lane Kiffin's offense." It's not Lane Kiffin's offense. It's Charlie Weiss Jr.'s offense. And I think what he did, not only to get Trinidad Chandler to Oxford, he recruited Trinidad Chandler to Oxford. He got him there. Not only to get him there, but to develop him and get him ready when Austin Simmons got hurt, and then for him to play at a high level. I think we all finally saw that in the playoff when you saw what the Ole Miss offense could do when Lane wasn't even around. Even Lane admitted that. Like, if you don't think it's his offense, just watch that team in the playoff. So I think that's certainly an issue. Like, how do they adjust in a new system? It'll be a similar system, but still different guy, different play caller, different ideas. And then not only that is, I don't think defensively they're not the same as they were last year. They don't have those impact dynamic guys off the edge on defense. So that'll be interesting to see what happens as well.
Matt, what did you make of that report yesterday that ESPN had floated the idea of a 20-team playoff model with the play-in games? And what do you think of? I've almost checked out because we're here at fall camp of all this off-the-field stuff, but it did catch my attention yesterday.
I'm so tired of the playoff talk. Seriously. I'm just so tired of it, man. You have the best playoff right now. 12 teams is the best playoff right now. I think they should stay right where they are. I think once you get beyond 12, even 16, I think you're going to water it down, and I think you're going to have games that shouldn't be there. If they were just smart and stayed at 12, okay, and you're not giving the Group 5 the highest Group of 5 champion an automatic bid. There are no automatic bids. It's the 12 best teams. If there's a Group of 5 team that's ranked within the top 12, they're in. If not, you're out. Because if you simply have that last year and it's the best 12 teams, all right, then you've got Texas in the playoff and you've got Notre Dame in the playoff. Then you've got Texas at Ole Miss in one game and Notre Dame at Oregon in the other game in the first round. Then what do those games look like? So I don't buy this whole idea that you're going to worry about getting sued, antitrust issue, because you're not blocking out the Group of 5. If they're good enough to play, they'll be selected in it. And I think we're too right now sold on this idea of, well, there's got to be an automatic qualifier. No, there doesn't. There doesn't have to be an automatic qualifier for the Group of 5. All right, get the 12 best teams. Period. And I think if you get the 12 best teams, then you have a chance to have a really good product. If you continue to fool around with, conference champions are automatically in the Group of 5, and then you start adjusting from that like you do every single year with this thing, for some reason these guys can't see into the future of what possibly could happen and what pitfalls there possibly are. So they just adjust on the fly. Just go 12 best, and you'll have your best playoff, period.
Matt, last thing for you. Do you think the Big Ten wins another national championship this year?
I mean, I think you got Oregon that can do it. You've got Ohio State that clearly can do it. I think if I'm looking at Indiana, I don't know why you bet against Indiana at this point. Considering what Sig's done in those first 29 games, I don't know how you bet against them. But I think, look, there's a lot going on. I think there's some worthy SEC teams. Not only that, Miami with Darian Menza, that's going to be fun to watch, too. I think it's wide open.
Matt, that was fun, man. Thanks for your few minutes, and we'll talk to you here in the future.
Okay, fellas.
Thank you. Matt Hayes, USA Today on the Bumpy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break, come back, open segment, followed by a little Mizzou talk. We haven't talked to Mizzou Insider in a while, so we'll find out how things are tracking for them. If you have tickets to the Oklahoma football game and want to spend the weekend with other Aggies, check out the Association of Former Students, all while receiving access to a special pregame event and more. What you need to do is take a look at the Traveling Aggies Oklahoma Football Weekend, November 20th through the 22nd. You can join Aggies in Oklahoma to watch the Aggies football team beat the hell out of Oklahoma. The travel package includes hotel accommodations at the Omni Oklahoma City, a private welcome reception, access to the official Traveling Aggies pregame event, a Traveling Aggies souvenir, and Aggie game day transportation. Please note that the round-trip transportation to Oklahoma City and game tickets are not included in this travel package. Don't miss a chance to travel with fellow Aggies for a marquee football weekend. To learn more about the Oklahoma football weekend, visit tx.ag/Aggies at Oklahoma. That is tx.ag/Aggies at Oklahoma. It is the Association of Former Students. So Matthew Coughlin's going to drop it like it's hot. This is a chance for him to shine. It's the last couple segments left in his run here at TexAgs, and he's done a great job this summer, so we appreciate his time. He's at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. All right, Coughlin, what do you want to chat about?
Well, Sports Illustrated made an article. It was basically predicting too deep for each position for A&M, and there's a couple ones that I wanted to talk about that were specifically of note. So starting with tight end, starter Micah Riley, and number 2, Houston Thomas.
That's a really good one. I don't know. Michael Riley is a captain. He's healthy. He should absolutely be in the mix. I don't know if you can fully say the too deep, because I think it's going to be dependent on what they need. Right? So Houston Thomas, I think of him as more of a receiver threat. I think of Michael Riley can be a receiver threat. And Richie Anderson, I don't know if I disagree, but I don't agree. Right? Like I still think we're going to learn more about that position in the first couple of games. But yeah, I would agree with Michael Riley at this point, or Richie Anderson being the starter. I'd agree with that.
I also had some people in the chat talking about goal line situations and bringing in Armstrong as like a fullback, just plowing people out of the way to make room for a running back. I could see that happening. Offensive line, they have all 4 transfers starting the season as the starters.
I mean, I think that's a safe guess. I wouldn't say a safe bet. Safe guess. I know Billy yesterday talked about Blake Ivy really, making some noise. I wouldn't be surprised if the transfers start the season as your starters. But Lamar Rogers is going to be in the mix. Blake Ivy is going to be in the mix. Robbie Bourdon will probably be in the mix. So, but based on what Billy said in Luchador, I wouldn't be surprised if Blake Ivy gets his say on that.
So you think the group that starts, if no injuries happen, that group might not be what finishes the season?
Well, I don't know. I think, as the season goes on, going back to my comment earlier about data points, you'll see what works best, right? Like you want to start your season with your best group, but as guys develop, maybe that best group changes. So like if one of these younger players just needs a little bit of seasoning but isn't ready to be the guy, who's to say he won't be ready to go by week 5, 6, 7?
Yeah. Cornerbacks is an interesting one. They have Julio Humphrey opposite of Des Ricks.
I'm going to say Ricky Gibson there, opposite Des Ricks. But, I mean, Julio played all spring, played really well spring. And depending on how healthy and good Ricky feels when the season starts, I mean, would I be surprised by that? No, I wouldn't be surprised by it. I think my hunch would be Ricky Gibson, though.
Yeah, I also think they could, first 3 games, be rotating, seeing what fits best. They also, interestingly, have Tafik Byard as the number 3 corner.
I think Tafik can play multiple spots.
Everywhere? Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have...
I mean, I've heard him more as safety than I have
too.
at corner, but I think he can play multiple spots.
Jordan
Who wrote this? USA Today?
This was
SI?
Sports Illustrated.
Okay. I don't know.
Jordan Shaw at nickel, Bryce Anderson, nickel 2.
Probably hedge my bets with Jordan Shaw today.
Yeah, I would too. And then quick note, because I saw this, but we were talking about Indiana football. This is in Indiana. Women's golf star for Texas A&M, Louise Rowe, won the Golf Week Hoosier Amateur with a 13-stroke victory and was the lone golfer to shoot under par for the tournament.
13-stroke victory?
13-stroke victory.
Gotta get Garrett Chadwell in studio to talk about that. How about that?
It's the most impressive golf round I've seen.
Yeah. What are some comments out there? What are the people saying so we can chew on before we hit a break and talk some Missouri football?
I have a great text. It was about how Billy said that Marcel needed to improve against zone coverage, and that A&M is going to implement more zone coverage on defense, that practicing against an elite secondary like A&M hopes to be, that iron sharpens iron, will make Marcel a better passer against zone.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because on ESPN they had this article discussing what well, not just SEC, but what college football coordinators and assistant coaches are saying confidently. Not confidently. They're saying off the record about different quarterbacks in the SEC. And the insider intel on Marcel was, and there's this little blurb from it, the people that have been able to stop the run and play zone defense, he's had a hard time against, which is 100% the facts of what happened at the end of the year. Another SEC defensive coordinator added, he still thinks he's a true quarterback, and we want him to. Like, keep thinking that way. He doesn't really want to run, but when he does, it's the scariest part. And I don't know if that's a Marcel thing or if that was how he was coached to say, I mean, remember, before last season, when was the last time a quarterback started 12 games for A&M?
That's a great question.
I got an answer for you. It's 2020 Kellen Mond, right? Like, that's the last time.
Was 2020 a full season?
It was the 9-game SEC season.
Okay.
Yeah, including they went 9-1, or the 8-game SEC season, 9-1, 9-game SEC season, and the Orange Bowl. That being said, it's the last time. Okay. After that, you had Haynes King go down, you had Calzada, you had Haynes King and Max Johnson go down, and Connor, and then you had Connor go down, and then you had Marcel. So, like, this has been a theme for A&M. So I don't know how much of that, hey, we got to be selective with our running. And then sometimes when you try to be a pocket passer because you don't want to overrun, you may stay there a little bit longer. I do believe that this year they're going to run Marceau a bit more.
And move in the pocket they talked about.
Yeah, and also just design runs. Like, let them beat you. I think that'll certainly happen. But he does need to be better against the zone defense. He absolutely does. And I know he spent a lot of the offseason working on those skills and trying to fire the ball off a little cleaner and better. I think that could be, if he can put it all together for the 12 games, because I think he did put it all together for a big portion of the season. But if he puts it all together for the entire season, then this team is going to be right back in the mix in November talking about a playoff berth. They were in the mix in Coach Elko's first year of an SEC championship game. They obviously finished poorly. They were in the mix last year at 11-1. It's just the timing of the loss, right? That timing of the loss kind of against Texas kind of put them in a worse spot when it came to the playoff committee. And obviously there were other teams that won tiebreakers in the 11-1, which is why Alabama got to go to the SEC championship game. Could have been A&M. Yeah. But if they have been in the mix for the SEC championship game, entering that last week every season, the 2 seasons that Coach Elko's been here, then why not?
Yeah, and you want to play your best football at the end of the year. And this one was interesting. So A&M obviously having a plethora of receivers. Do they go more to 4 receiver sets?
I know Billy talked a little bit about that yesterday too on Luchador. That's possible, right? I think it'll they won't have to use the tight end as much in that scenario if they want to spread out the field and But I something tells me Holman Wiggins is going to use the tight ends more than we saw. I think the last 2 years we've seen tight ends used early and it kind of fizzled out. I wouldn't be surprised, but he may not have to. When you've got, they are legit deep at wide receiver and trusted deep, right? Last year at this point, ABR was a maybe. Like, we heard good things about him, but he hadn't done it yet. Terry Bussey was still a maybe. Terry Bussey is much more established, and obviously this offseason he's been killing it. ABR is absolutely established. Mario Craver, we thought he'd be really good. He didn't exceed Billy's expectations. He exceeded my expectations. I did not expect him to be on path to 1,000 yards in the first 7 games of the year, and that's what he was. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll talk a little Missouri on the other side. When it comes to advice from a financial matter, independence matters, and at Paragon Financial Advisors, they're going to take care of you. They're an Aggie-owned and operated independent fee-only fiduciary firm. That means their recommendations are not influenced by commissions, proprietary products, or sales quotas. So whether you're managing family wealth or growing a successful business, their team helps clients make informed financial decisions with comprehensive planning and disciplined investment management. And for many business owners, that means developing strategies not only to grow the business, but also prepare for one of the biggest financial events of their life, the eventual sale or transition of that business. Visit paragon-adv.com to learn how to get independent advice and make sure that they prepare you for what is next. It is Paragon Financial Advisors,
Aggie-owned, independent, serving clients nationwide. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Missouri football. They're an interesting team because I think Eli Drinkwitz has done a phenomenal job with them. I don't know how I feel about him this year. I mean, obviously the injury to Ahmad Hardy, the unfortunate situation he went through, a new quarterback, just a lot of changes. So let's get an insider's perspective. Gabe DeArmond, who's a Mizzou insider for PowerMizzou.com, joining us here on the Bumpy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Gabe, what's up, man?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Great, man. Thanks for joining us. So you're an insider. Tell me what you think. Like, I don't know what, honestly, I say this about Mizzou, and I could probably say it about 14 teams in the SEC. I don't know what to expect out of Mizzou this year. Where are you on them?
The same. I mean, whatever. I can go to practice every day. I can talk to whoever I want to. But, like, we see 20 minutes of practice. It's stretching drills. So we don't know how these guys look, right? You look at Austin Simmons. if you want to see the guy that was a 5-star out of high school, has a rocket arm, Lane Kiffin picked him to be the starter, you can see that. If you want to see the guy who has 6 touchdowns and 5 picks and lost his job to Trinidad Chambliss after he got hurt, you can see that. We don't know. We don't know when Ahmad Hardy's going to play. They have 1.5 starters back on defense. Like, there's 54 new guys on campus. I can draw Missouri a path to being in playoff contention, and I can draw them a path to 5-7.
But Drink, for the most part, has been so consistent at Mizzou. What is it about Drink that has brought this level of consistency? Even though they haven't reached the destination that they want to, they have still been in the upper tier of SEC teams.
Yeah, he's recruited at a level that no Missouri coach has ever recruited at. I mean, he did it his first 3 years. He was 17-19 after 3 years, and Missouri fans were still all in on him because they said, look at the guys he's bringing in. We haven't had guys like that. And it proved to be true. Drink's biggest problem was he had his top 10 year a year too early. He finished 8th in the country when it was a 14 playoff in the last year. If he'd done that 1 year later, I think he probably gets a little more national credit than he does. But he's just brought a level of talent in here, whether it's high school or the portal, that Missouri hasn't really ever been in on before.
Talk to me about Ahmad Hardy. Everybody knows that what he was involved in this offseason, and also around the first, or I think it was right before SEC Media Days, it came out that, hey, he feels good. So when we say feels good, and I know you don't know his future, is this a guy that A&M may face later on in the season, or is everything still TBD?
It's very much up in the air. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz has said since day one, like, there's not really a chart for this, right? Coming back from your running back being shot in the leg, this is not a common deal. So we'll see. He hasn't practiced yet. He has been cleared medically for a return to football activity, whatever that means, right? That could mean a million different things. He's been rehabbing. He's posting videos on Instagram of him riding his horses around, but he hasn't been on the practice field. I will be shocked if we see him week 1. The truth is Missouri shouldn't need him in the first 3 weeks. September 26th at Mississippi State is kind of the benchmark for me where, okay, if you're going to have him, you'd really like him back by then. But they're not saying it all right now. Drinkwitz said into this week he might have another update.
So how does the running game look minus Ahmad Hardy? Because they ran the ball effectively without him last year.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Roberts, I think, would start for, half this league, right? He had 850 yards and I think 7 touchdowns as a backup, and he was actually their third down back because he's a better receiver and blocker than Ahmad Hardy is. That said, you don't lose your best player, a first-team All-American, and get better. I think the problem is, even if Jamal Roberts can replace everything Ahmad Hardy gave you, and that's certainly a huge question, well, then who replaces what Jamal Roberts gave you, right? Because those two guys combined for right about 2,500 rushing yards last year. So their backup right now would be a kid named Zyshawn Edwards, who came in from Houston Christian. He ran for about 1,100 yards last year, but Houston Christian, last I looked, is not playing 5 of the top 11 teams in the country.
Gabe, I want to go back to the A&M games the last couple of years. A couple years ago,
Missouri fans don't.
Well, I know, and here's the interesting part: that first game, Elko's first game against Missouri, I think a play or two goes different. It feels completely different, right? That first touchdown pass that was called back and whatnot. I even think last year's game, A&M won was by 17 points, 21 points, whatever it was. At points of that game, I felt like Missouri was a play or two from making that a different game. So how close do you think those two teams are based on what you've seen on the field? I know what the scores say, but just watching the games.
Right. Well, I don't know that the gap between the teams is huge. The gap on the days Missouri has played A&M has been huge. There is Missouri fans, anybody who follows Missouri can't say anything about Texas A&M, Mike Elko, that he has flat out dominated them 2 years in a row. I mean, and I understand the argument, hey, there's a bad pass interference call. I don't love if you change one play in the first quarter, you don't get beat 41-7. I mean, maybe it's not 41-7, but it was very obvious who the better team was on that day. Now, was that a bad? I think that Missouri team was better than that, but they certainly weren't on that day. And Like, I think that's the one Missouri fans really have circled this year, right? I mean, yeah, you've got Georgia on the schedule, you've got Texas, you've got Oklahoma and Ole Miss, but like, Missouri, frankly, should be fairly embarrassed by what A&M has done to them the last 2 years. So I would think that's one they have circled on the schedule and say, you know, we got to show this maybe isn't the program we are.
So I know you spoke about Austin Simmons earlier. I'm fascinated by him because of what we heard about him a year ago. Now, I haven't been to practice. I don't know how he looks, but what do we think Austin Simmons is at his best, and what do we think he is typically?
He is. I've been doing this for almost 25 years. I'm not sure I've covered a guy where the gap between what he could be is so big, right? I mean, he's a guy that has every physical tool to be an NFL quarterback. There's no question. He came to college at 16. Like, he's just kind of really getting to what should be the prime of his career. But he's played like 120 snaps and he has 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I mean, those, you know, you can't ignore those numbers. So we probably won't know until probably mid-October. I mean, Missouri last week in September plays Mississippi State, then Florida, then A&M, I think is the order those games go in. Maybe A&M, then Florida, I can't remember. But those 3 games, like, we're going to know by the midway point of the season what he is. But right now, like I said, you can see anything you want to see. And Missouri fans are obviously leaning into the positive. Hey, Lane Kiffin picked this guy to be a starter, and everybody loves him. And Drinkwitz has said he's got the most arm talent of any guy that Eli has coached. But there's a lot of guys who can throw the ball hard and far, right, that don't turn it on Saturday. So we got to see what happens in the month of September. And it's really the entire thing about this Missouri team. If he hits his ceiling of what everybody thought he could be, like I said, I can give you away Missouri is, you know, sitting there at 8-2, whatever, going into the last couple weeks of the season with a chance. If he is not that, if he's turning the ball over, if Missouri has to turn somewhere else, like, I can pretty easily see this being a team that's fighting to make a bowl game.
Gabe, let's talk defense. I know what'd you say, 2 starters coming back, whatever the number was defensively. Yeah. I found that defense to be excellent last year for the most part. Just talk to me about that defense, and with so many new pieces, can you really figure out what kind of defense they'll be?
Yeah, I think it was, I mean, last year was one of the best defenses in school history. I could argue it's maybe the best defense they've had in the modern era. I don't think you get to compare it to like 1960 when they gave up like 32 points all year. I think that the game's a little bit different. But, I mean, look, Corey Batoon came in here 2 years ago, and when LSU hired Blake Baker away, everyone was saying, well, how can Missouri ever replace Blake Baker? He's this high-rising, fast-rising assistant, blah, 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 highest-paid assistant in the country. And Corey Batoon has been better statistically in every single category in his 2 years. Now, my question, plenty of holes to fill. Linebacker's fine. Safety, I think they'll be okay. They lost Zion Young, who was a second-round draft pick of the Baltimore Ravens, and Damon Wilson transferred to Miami off the edge. I mean, what Missouri defensively has kind of been known for the last 20 years is pass rushers. You go way back, Alden Smith kind of started it, and then they had a long line of Michael Sam, Coney Ely, Marcus Golden, Shane Ray, you know, and going through Zion and Damon Wilson last year. The hope is that Darius Smith, another Georgia transfer, can kind of step into that role of guys who have their 3rd or 4th year in the program really kind of broken out and become stars. But that's the position that I look at and say, if Missouri hasn't replaced that well enough, this defense definitely takes a big step back.
I know that Drink's not on any kind of hot seat, but, like, is he? In college football, two bad years can get you fired. Is that a no?
No, I mean, he could go 1-11 this year, and he's coming back, right? Nobody knows for sure except him if he had the opportunity to actually take any of the jobs, but like, he was in the mix at LSU, Florida, Auburn, Penn State, Michigan. Like, he was on those lists, on the short list, and Missouri signed him to an extension. He's making, I don't know, $11 million a year, has a clause in it. Every year you win 8 games in the regular season, you get extended another year. So Missouri is all in on him. The fans absolutely love him. He's the most powerful guy on campus. Now, look, 5-7, 5-7, then we'll talk again in a couple years. Yeah. But there's, short of legal trouble, there is, and I would say NCAA trouble, but there's no rules anymore, so you can't break those. But short of legal trouble, there's nothing that costs him his job after this year.
Gabe, something that struck me about him in Tampa, I believe it was the Sunday before he was supposed to talk. He was just walking around the hotel with his family like just a normal guy. And I'm not saying that, there aren't other SEC coaches that are like that, but he just seemed like such a relatable, normal dude off camera.
Yeah, look, we've all covered coaches that, like, if you see him in public, you kind of turn the other way because they're football robots and they can't have human conversations. Eli's a good guy to talk to off the record. He's very normal. I think he would be phenomenal on TV. He could host Feinbaum's show if he wanted to, and I think he can walk around like that because, frankly, not very many people would look at Eli Drinkwitz and go, hey, I bet that's an SEC head football coach, right? Like, he probably doesn't get harassed a whole lot on the street outside of Columbia, Missouri.
Gabe, last thing for you. Let's navigate the schedule. Everybody in the SEC this year's got something to complain about with this 9 games. It just changes. Right. That one game changes it all. So kind of navigate the schedule. Best case, middle case, worst case for Mizzou.
Well, it's so interesting because that's been the thing for Missouri the last couple of years, right? Everybody said they have an easy schedule, and it wasn't easy, but for the SEC, it was pretty easy. They dodged a lot of the top dogs. They don't do that this year. I think the key game in the whole thing is at Mississippi State, the SEC opener. If you lose that one, then all of a sudden you're going, how do we get to 6? And everybody says, well, you shouldn't lose at Mississippi State, but forget, like, they took Texas and Tennessee to overtime last year in Starkville, right? And that's what this league is you don't go on the road and just say, yeah, no problem, we got this one. But they have to beat Mississippi State. They have to beat Kentucky. They have to beat Arkansas. Because after that, they've got Florida and 5 top 10 teams. To get to 8-4, Missouri has to beat a team that's ranked in the top 10 in the preseason. And that's now not all those teams are going to live up to that, right? Somebody's taking a step backwards. Somebody that's ranked in the top 10 won't finish there, but it is clearly the most challenging schedule I think Missouri's probably had in 45 years.
Gabe, this has been great, man. Appreciate your time. Let's do it when the game rolls around. We'll get you back that week, all right?
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Gabe DeArmond, PowerMizzou.com. All right, we'll hit a break, come back with a final short segment before we get you ready for the Wednesday show. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Do you guys agree? Like when we talk to these insiders, you can talk yourself into A&M demolishing that team, and also talk yourself into, man, this might be a harder game than I thought. Doesn't matter who I talk to. Like in the same conversation, I'm like, oh man, that's right. The backup, was it Jamal Roberts? He did pretty good against A&M. And so, and Eli Drinkowitz, I mean, yeah, he's gotten destroyed by Elko, but like every team we talk to, I can make an argument that they can beat you and A&M should destroy them. Nick, where are you on this?
When it comes to Missouri, I mean, I listen to everything Gabe there had to say, but I guess when it comes to Missouri, I've never been, as a fan, too intimidated by them. Even when A&M has had to go on the road there, not too worried about it. But like definitely for other, and who knows, maybe Ahmad Hardy comes back, looks good and runs good, and he plays well up to the point where A&M has to play, and then my attitude will probably change. But they just seem kind of like we were talking about this earlier, Matthew, kind of seem like a one-dimensional team by the numbers and what they're getting back. Like they can run the football well, and that might be their strong suit. But I guess to your original question, do insiders change my perspective? Sometimes.
In the moment, right? Like, and then he talks about all the defenders that have gone on either to the NFL or transferred to other spots. And I'm like, good luck. Good luck with that passing game, or at least the A&M passing game against that defense. Good luck with Marcel's speed, because it is true. Like that defensive front last year for Missouri was excellent. Coughlin, where are you on all this?
I kind of agree with Nick. Of kind of not really, but sometimes. Mizzou, I feel pretty confident about though, and you talked about their defense, and what do you say, like 1.5 starters are coming back. And a team that's not proven as a passing game, if you get up early, then you feel pretty confident going through the rest of the game.
Yeah, look, A&M took care of business last year, but that game at times felt close. And I think that's just the one thing I
disagree. I remember watching that game, and you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there.
You were there, so you had a different feel. But for me watching, I didn't feel that way.
Google this real quick. Google the box score and go by the play-by-play. We only got like 30 seconds, so you're on the clock. And this is your last real assignment, Coughlin, so you better get this right.
There's no way.
What do you want?
I just want to know what the score was before the Dalton Brooks, you may not be able to find this, fake punt. Because I feel like it was maybe a 10-point game and you were going to be punting to them getting the ball in the third quarter.
It was 14-0 at halftime.
Yep.
It was 24-7 going into the fourth quarter.
But do we have that fake punt, whatever the score was at that point? Because I feel like that gave you the breathing room again, because I think Missouri started making a run, and then that fake punt happened, and thank goodness, because
it was 21-7.
Yeah, 21-7.
Okay, so if you were punting, they had just scored, made it 21-14. These are all hypotheticals.
Then we kicked a field goal, they kicked a field goal.
In the moment, I felt like, oh no, what are we going to do? And then Coach Elko did the Coach Elko thing, which is dominate. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't got anything else.